myself trapped inside. I can't help but wonder how my mistakes led me here. Can I ever fix this? When I look back, you and me, and the bond between us, how did it all go wrong? If you could rescue me, would you help set me free? Would you betray me? If I could go back and change the past, would we then have a chance to try and make it last? I would give anything to be with you again. If I could change my life, will you be there to help entertain me? It's clear to me I was wrong, and I know I hurt you. If only I knew how we could be back together, I'd give it all up for you. I'd even embrace to be turned into a fraud. If you could rescue me, would you help set me free?
Super Mario Land?
I don't know. They need to add after they get the catalog pretty full, they need to add like a Game Boy section to the Nintendo Online.
Yeah, they're not even close though. I
No,
don't know
no.
if they'll
Well,
let-
they don't have to fill the whole thing, but you know they're going to come to the end of Super Nintendo long before they come to the end of Nintendo if they're trying to fill it up.
Yeah, but I've looked
Yeah.
at both, and they're incredibly sparse with just like really crappy games.
Because it was a lot easier to just make crappy games. Like, once you hit the 64, having to work with polygons and stuff, which, I mean, like, you didn't have to work with polygons, but being encouraged to work with polygons, there's a lot less shovelware just put onto the 64. Because I think the 64 has, like, what, 200 games total in its library?
I guess.
It's a pretty small number compared to other consoles.
So we're gonna be swapped. I just realized.
Yes, because I changed my name to Guildmaster Metal, so I don't actually have to move anything over, even if you turn your camera off.
Are you still gonna be over here, or do I need to point to you? Over
No, you
here?
were pointing the right way the first time. Yeah. I guess because I'm mirrored, this is where you are.
Mhm.
But it doesn't look like that for your. Oh yeah, bop. Yeah, Happy Mario Day. That is today. It's March 10th.
Oh, are we live?
Yeah, we are live.
We are live.
You know I always sneak it in.
Well,
In the midst of our
I was
conversation.
watching on Twitch, and the Twitch stream is not up for me.
Oh, that's weird.
Froze up for some reason.
Well, we are live.
Cool.
Welcome to the Vomitorium. As always, I'm your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. How you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing peachy. Just
Cool.
peachy.
Yeah. Happy Mario Day.
Yeah. Yeah, GMT's got Twitch running fine. It's probably just...
Yeah, it's up for me. It's up for me now. I don't know. I just had to refresh.
Now we'll see if Spectrum decides that our stream will go the entire time. It seems to want to run perfectly fine until I start doing something I need to do.
Of course.
Yeah.
Knows. I was
It
looking up to.
absolutely knows.
So yeah, we were just talking about it would be nice to get some Game Boy games on the Switch, and among them, Super Mario Land 1, 2, and 3 would be nice.
Yeah.
I especially like Super Mario Land 2. That's my favorite.
I like Wario Land.
Yeah, I like that too.
I kind of just
It's,
like the whole franchise. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, Wario Land is kind of like a completionist's dream. It's not that hard to do, but the whole goal of the game is to basically get all of the treasures.
Yeah.
And there is a set number of treasures. Really, it's funny because it counts up like all your coins at the end, but really the actual number of coins you get is completely unimportant as long as you get all the treasures.
Yeah. Well, because I forget, do coins reset when you go places in that game? Or is there a finite amount of coins?
No, they reset, so you can go back and get more. But like I said, it's not really that important. Like, it adds them all up at the end, but it's really just the treasures, because you might have a couple thousand coins by the end, but then the treasures are worth like millions.
Yeah. Well, you'd want to do it that way too, especially if the coins aren't finite, right? Like.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, you could still get the castle without getting all of the treasures, but it would be very difficult.
Oh, it'd be so frustrating.
Yeah, no, just go get all the treasures.
It was like, that was making me think of Bravely Default 2. I was playing it recently, and at the beginning, there's a fight you have to do with who I'm assuming is either the ultimate or penultimate boss of the game. Right, because you never know if there's some other person pulling the strings or whatever, I don't know. But he seems to be like a big bad. And at the end of the prologue, you have to do a fight with him, you have to lose. Womp womp. But he does have like a set HP, because you can scan him, and I wasn't really doing any damage, but that does mean he has like a set armor, because I did do like 1 or 2 damage to him once. So theoretically, I could have spent a year, because, the curve of experience needed, just grinding in the first area before fighting him, and maybe have been able to beat him.
Yeah.
Now, knowing Square, I'd be able to take him down to like 1 HP, and then he'd stop taking any damage whatsoever, and then the battle would end with my team losing anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, because like, they'll do that in Final Fantasy games, but they don't give you any opportunity to grind.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely impossible.
Well, in 2, for a fact, because that little scene was added to the beginning that wasn't in the original version of 2. But in 3, there's a point where the Cloud of Darkness, you have to fight it for the first time. And it is possible to bring it to 0 if you have like grinded over. Like, you're like level 70 already when you fight it. It's a rough battle. If you're higher than that, you can get to the point that it becomes an easy battle. But if you bring it to 0, you can't just end the game right there. They should have programmed like an alternate ending. It just ends the battle and you lose anyway. Like, your HP drops to 0.
Interesting.
Yeah, my brother played through the 3 using the action replay because he was being impatient, and he knew that me and our middle brother, the one between us, had already progressed like super far through the game before he started. So like, whatever, I'm just gonna bump my people to level 99 at the beginning of the game and go through to find out what happens. And when he got to the Cloud of Darkness, he was so upset because he beat it and then it still killed him anyway.
Oh.
Yeah.
Scripted.
Yep.
Yeah, GMT makes a good point. Why are you running your internet through a ZX Spectrum?
I don't know. I don't have any control
1980s. Yeah.
I just use it.
I've been told that they're better than Commodore 64s, but only by people who live in the UK.
Yeah, so, there's a big bias there, probably.
Maybe, yeah, possibly.
Yeah. But I hate scripted events, like... Well, I mean, all events are scripted in a way, but I mean, I hate, like, those heavily handed scripted events where it's like, the game gives you the possibility to beat it because of the way the event is programmed. But if you just, however the battle has to end, if it's ended, it still ends up one way anyway. Like, just make the boss completely invulnerable or something. Don't even give me the chance if I have to lose against it.
Yeah, or give it just a ridiculous amount of HP or something. I don't know. There's plenty of ways.
Yeah.
So speaking of Mario's, I figured we could talk some more about Mario since it's March 10th.
Mario Day. Yeah.
Did you ever play Paper Mario Thousand Year Door?
Yes. Yes, I have. I've played through the first 3 Paper Mario games. I haven't played Color Splash, and Sticker Star waned on me.
Yeah. And I've heard that Origami King is not much better.
Yeah, it seems to just be in the same fold, pun intended, as Sticker Star and Color Splash.
Yeah. Well, the battle system looks just weird and cumbersome.
Yeah.
Annoying.
Well, the first 2 Paper Mario games kind of just took a spin on Super Mario RPG and turned it into like this theatrical battle where menus pop up and you select them and it's you and a partner. I really like the first 2 Paper Mario games. They're really good.
Yeah. Now, were they basically sequels to Super Mario RPG or just kind of coincidentally?
They're effectively sequels. Right? Yeah. A lot of the same people from the Nintendo side of it, because RPG was a collaboration with Square Enix and stuff like that too. A lot of people from the Nintendo side of Super Mario RPG worked on the Paper Mario games. In many ways, they were a predecessor, because of the time, of the Mario and Luigi saga, the Superstar Saga and so on, which I would think are more of a successor to Mario RPG in the nature of the storytelling, but Paper Mario has the partner system where it's Mario and like somebody else and whatever.
Interesting. I never played any of the... I didn't play the first 2 Paper Mario games. I played Super Paper Mario.
I mean, the game's fun for what it is. It's disappointing if you played the first 2 because you're expecting a turn-based RPG experience.
Yeah, I liked it though, because I didn't have any expectations because I hadn't played the first 2.
It's got the story's pretty good. I mean, I can give it that. There's some story stuff in Super Paper Mario I really like. I can give it the credit where it's due. One of the disappointing thing is, while the pixels kind of had personalities, it wasn't to the degree that the partners did, and they didn't really function as partners. They were more like tools or moves, you know?
Yeah. I guess that Super Paper Mario hasn't come out for anything else other than Wii, right?
I don't believe so. I don't think it's been remade. I don't believe the other 2 have either up to this point. They've been ported, like on the Wii U, you can get the original Paper Mario and stuff like that, but none of the Paper Mario games have been remade.
Yeah, they should re-release those or something.
Yeah. You don't even have to remake them. Like, as far as I know, they come out kind of sprite-ish, kind of pixely when you zoom in. But I as far as I know, that's the way the anti-aliasing and the compression on the 64 worked. Because they use like 2 different layers to try to blur things, and it just didn't always function properly, depending on like what was going on in the game and the TV being used. But if they were to take the compression off, I think the paper models would look like smooth paper. I think you could easily just update that by removing the compression and porting it over in a way that doesn't work as well for Super Mario 64.
So what system were the first 2 on?
Well, the first one was on 64 and the second one was on GameCube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the second one, because, you know, it's such stylized graphics, this is why you don't need to actually remake it graphically, you just have to maybe uncompress it, that it still looks great. Like, there's nothing you need to do to Thousand Year Door to make it look any better. Just scale it up.
Well, I like Super Mario RPG, which I never played until I got my SNES Classic. And I think it still looks great.
Oh, yeah. A lot of those games that are sprite based, though, they hold up a lot better because a lot of art went into the sprites, and I don't want to say they didn't put the same care into the polygon models at the 64 age, but probably it being a new thing, having the same amount of time to develop a game, having to make probably the same effort had to go into a single model as a full sprite sheet, depending on the type of game. Because it does take a while to make a sprite sheet, as opposed to like a polygon model, you only have to make one of those and then you can bend it around in the environment. But it was still a new thing, so they maybe even spent more time on a single model than they did on a single sheet. That I don't know, those models didn't age as well, and that's probably just because it was a newer practice. There's some old sprites in the NES that don't age very well, and going back to like NES and pre that, like sprites should have been a good practice by then. We what they started in the 70s. The NES comes out in the 80s. You've had like 15 years of people working on sprites to know what a good sprite looks like.
Well, you gotta realize there weren't that many people working on video games.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe somebody new came in and didn't
Yeah,
really
but
know what
you
they were
could
doing.
look at like what looks good and what looks bad from the previous games. You're like, yeah, I don't think I want sprites that look like Bayou Billy. You know.
Yeah, there were some pretty awful ones on NES. You know, I was watching someone play the original Legend of Zelda last night, and of course, you know, had kids watching who were like, "Oh, this game didn't hold up very well." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
There are a couple sprites in that game that
great.
don't hold up very well.
Yeah,
Just a couple.
no, but they were just talking about the whole game in general.
Yeah.
I'm like, "You crazy? Like, this game is still awesome to this day."
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's
Mechanically, that game holds up great. Very well, as long as you're not emulating it in a bad emulator, because that game can immediately become glitchy as shit. But in general, mechanically, that game holds up great.
Yeah, I think he was playing on like a NES Classic, or he might have been playing on the Switch because it is
Yeah.
NES.
Nintendo does a better job at getting their emulators to work, as opposed to like random people on the internet, because Nintendo does weird things to stop piracy. They've always done weird things to stop piracy, like even back in the NES days. Probably because if you look at all these junk like developers, like what's that one that JLN I think is or LJN, what the one that AVGN
yeah, laughing, joking, numbnuts.
Yeah, LJN. It was so easy to get a hold of the cartridges, they were basically like giving them away, that if you got a hold of them claiming you were making a game for print, you could have just pirated anything and just put it onto a cartridge.
Yeah, but official cartridges, I think Nintendo had to make them. Didn't they?
Well, they did. That's why there's this Nintendo seal of approval that got popped onto things. But it was so easy to pirate those games, like... Yeah.
Yeah, there were plenty of companies that did third-party, cartridges.
You can tell because the cartridge looked different, right? Like, it still had the same connector. It's just a 72-pin connector. It's not hard to get by. You can even get a port for it to replace for your NES off of, like, Amazon or eBay.
Yeah, they just had to get around the lockout chip.
Yeah. And it's not that hard to get around the lockout chip. So what do they do?
Business people in the 80s did a lot of cocaine.
Yeah, that's they probably thought some of the sprites looked better than they actually did.
Yeah.
Especially at LJ, and you want to talk about some bad-looking sprites. Or bad everything about most of their games.
Terrible.
I think, like, they had maybe 5 good games, but you don't even look at them because they did, like, 100 games, and most of them are shit.
There's a company making a new NES game.
Oh yeah, they do that from time to time. There's a few that have done that.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the name of it. I probably have them in.
And as GMT brings
Twitter
up,
somewhere.
We can print our own.
Yeah. can
Well, the best
easily
part is,
3D.
you can print an NES game that doesn't have much of the same limitations as the NES. Like, obviously, it will have the graphical and sound limitations, but you can put so much more memory on it, up to a certain threshold, because the actual motherboard will buckle out at a certain point. But you could put up to like 8 times the memory that an NES cartridge could hold, and the player, like the system, will still play it. So you can make a game that's much larger if you were printing your own. Or if you were pirating to print, you could put several games on one cartridge.
You know, and you can even get tricky and put like processors in the cartridge.
Yeah, you
to
can.
speed things up, as long as it only passes the the data in to the system as fast as it can handle it.
Yeah. Because there are some physical limitations of the system itself before it'll buckle.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you
But
could just enhance your system, but at a certain point, when does it stop becoming an NES, and what are you doing? Why not just go work on anything else?
Yeah. Well, I think I've even seen like almost like a custom, what do they call it? Mode 7?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Like an NES cartridge with Mode 7 built in, where they were showing off like what looked like sort of 3D zooming and stuff.
Well, GMT
to the degree
says you can put an entire Raspberry Pi Zero and use the cartridge as a standalone system if you really want. Well, like, yeah, you could, but like, the point is making something that is viable on the NES, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what's the point? You got to work within the actual physical restrictions of the system.
Yeah.
Not the cartridge, but the system.
So the company I was thinking of is called Something Nerdy Studios. And if you're interested, their website is somethingnerdy.com. And they said that they are going to, I had a brief chat with them on Twitter. They said they are going to be crowdfunding something on Indiegogo, I believe they said in May. So I think it's this game they're making called Former Dawn.
Yeah, okay.
And they showed off an animation of a waterfall that looked really, really cool. For it's going to be an NES game.
Oh, nice.
So
you should harass them and try to get them on the show.
Maybe I will. Mm-hmm. I tried to get the Nox Arceus people on. Well, they probably could still.
Oh, I'd love to still have them on to talk about anything with their project or whatever.
Yeah, did I show this?
Yeah,
before.
I think. Well, maybe not on here. You've showed it to me.
Yeah.
But since the only way we ever communicate is through webcam, it's hard for me to remember whether it was on this show or somewhere else.
Yeah, I just got this like 3 days ago, I think.
Yeah. If you got it 3 days ago, then it was probably just in a hangout or something, because we obviously were on this show 3 days ago.
Yeah, I think I got it on maybe Saturday or something like that, probably after the show. I'm going to do an unboxing, even though I've already opened it technically. I haven't like touched it because I want to do an unboxing.
Is it like a sealed letter?
Yeah, which I have not unsealed yet.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm going to unseal it on camera, and it has a cloth map.
Oh, yeah. You were always talking about that before.
Yeah, it's a spiritual successor to the Ultima series. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's characters in there from the Ultima series. But this is a totally retro. This is actually an Apple II game. So, and it actually came with, hopefully, I literally haven't looked in there yet, but it's supposed to have come with 5 1/4-inch floppy disks with the game that you could put into an Apple II computer, and it should work. Of course, I've already installed it because they also sent the ROMs with an Apple II emulator for Windows.
Yeah. No, I always love that. Like, there are people making Game Boy games and stuff like that. Like, it's really cool that all this effort's being put into what are unsupported systems. Except if people are making stuff for them, they are no longer unsupported systems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. they're regaining support. It almost makes me want to go see if I can find an Apple II computer.
Yeah, those are hard to come by.
So yeah. Does it work on the iPhone? Well, if there's an Apple II emulator for iPhone,
I'm sure
it could theoretically. Maybe.
Now, I don't think there's a legit one. And you probably have to have a jailbroken phone to use it, but...
Oh, maybe. Well, maybe there's one for Android.
For Android, yeah, but you don't have to jailbreak a phone for most APKs. You could just install it, so that's a lot easier. iPhone, you have to do weird stuff if you want to get around the iTunes store and stuff like that.
True. Although I don't know why they would not allow an Apple II emulator. I guess they'd probably just have a blanket no emulators.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to find out.
Start selling old stuff. Like, it's Apple systems. Like, hey, we still have some of the... probably a licensing problem. They'd have to contact people. It's like, we still have some of the production rights to some of this stuff. Maybe we just sell it to you.
I mean, don't you think any sort of copyright has expired by now?
It depends who the distribution right goes under. You know, and like a trademark might have expired. Copyrights for creation is, if it's an individual, it's their lifetime plus 75 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If it's a group, though, it depends if the company's defunct or not.
Yeah, you would think that Apple would still hold the copyright for the Apple II. Like,
well, for the system, it just depends on some of the games are owned by independent developers.
Yeah, but if they're just selling the emulator or...
Well, I was just saying they should actually have like almost like a virtual console type thing where you could buy things through it, but to go that far, they would need to get in touch with like whoever owns the copyrights of some of those games.
Yeah, I mean, I used to love Load Runner on my Apple II,
well,
as well as a bunch of old Ultima games.
I think Oregon Trail is owned by the Learning Company right now, and they're pretty open about stuff. They could probably, as a starter thing, just get Oregon Trail on there, and that would sell it alone for people.
You could probably get the Apple II version of that.
Yeah.
Free online. And of course, like Load Runner's owned by Broderbund, if that's even still a company.
Yeah. Oh, Buck had a question for me. Is the real reason you started doubling down on the Fighters Guild promotion is so you had an excuse to use the Guildmaster title? No, you're looking at it backwards. I've always had the excuse to use the Guildmaster title. I'm using it to double down on the Fighters Guild promotion, which brings into a nice segue. Thank you. The Vomitorium is brought to you in part by the Fighters Guild. If you would like to join, contact me. The pillars of the Fighters Guild are self-improvement, or also known as temperance, valor. Oh, frick. I actually had all these on the top of my head. What was the other one?
Compassion.
I should know this. Valor,
Honor?
self-improvement, fair play, all for the sake of gathering the experiences of those involved and sharing them with each other. I don't know why I was missing fair play. That's like the most important one. Anyway, yeah, if you would like to join the Fighters Guild.
Does it cost anything to join?
No. No. It is, as a basic member, you can join for free. Maybe there will be membership tiers in the future for people who wish to support and get something more out of it. But it is kind of just like, you know, it's a traditional guild in many ways. It's kind of like a union, but it's more like a club.
Cool.
Yeah. And eventually, there's a few people in it, but I'll start sponsoring events and stuff like that, depending on how much traction we get down the road. Yeah.
So what do you think about Super Mario Galaxy 2? Do you think they're ever going to put that on the Switch?
Probably not. They should. I think that's the better one. A lot of people don't like it because it lacks the hub world, but my biggest problem with the first one was the camera controls, and 2 really improved that a lot, so I enjoyed it more because of that.
I wonder why they wouldn't include that. Or port it over eventually.
I would have said make it a DLC for the 3D All-Stars, but you would only do that if you were continuing to support the 3D All-Stars, which is going away at the end of this month. Can't purchase it anymore.
Crazy. Makes me wonder if I should get it. I mean, I guess this will be my last chance.
That's why they're doing that. They're trying to pressure you into getting it.
I know.
Don't cave into the peer pressure for getting shitty ports.
They should put it on sale. I don't think it's on sale. I know a bunch of Mario games are, like, including the Luigi's Mansion, the latest Luigi's Mansion, which I noticed because it's on my wish list, but I don't know if I'm actually going to get it.
They need to port Luigi's Mansion 2 to the Switch. I'm never going to play it again because I hate the way the game is set up with its mission-based progression, but they still need to port it over. Yeah, because Dark Moon, a lot of people didn't play it.
Yeah. I'm looking to see. Yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3 is 35% off.
3 is actually great, except for, what was it, floor 11, I think? I think floor 11, it was my single complaint about the whole game, and it can go fuck itself. I want to say it was floor 11. There's a single floor that can go fuck itself. It's been a while since I've played it. The rest of the game is fine.
But yeah, the 3D All Stars is not on sale. It's on sale, but it's not. Well, it's whatever. It's $60.
Yeah,
just like it's always. And I guess because they're discontinuing it, they're not planning on putting it on sale. I'm guessing.
Nope. It's never going to go on sale. The best sale is going to be in the opposite direction as it hits eBay for a ridiculous price after it's no longer being sold.
Oh, you mean the physical version?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should go buy the physical version.
Right at the end of this month, people are just going to go and, like, scalp out every remaining copy, and they're just going to start selling it for, like, over $100 on eBay.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so if you are interested, now would be the time to get it if you don't have it already. I personally can't recommend it. I've said my issues with this set multiple times. I don't need to go back through it again, but this would be the time to get it. But I've only said my issues on Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Actually, I don't know if I've went into it. That might have been on the legacy version of the podcast that people can't watch anymore, because that's about the time that game came out.
Oh.
On, like, my issues with Dark Moon as a game.
So would you recommend that I get Luigi's Mansion 3? Eagle's saying it's great.
Yes, I recommend 3. I don't recommend 2. There's some things in 3 that you may not understand without 2, but they're minor and honestly not important. Like, where did the dog come from?
Yes. Well, I remember the dog from 2.
Yeah. But, God, Dark Moon was so freaking bad. So, like, the cool thing about the original Luigi's Mansion, other than being, like, a Ghostbuster-style, like, poltergeist hunting game, right, was that it was very much like Resident Evil, the original one, where you're in a mansion, you have a certain area that's unlocked to you now, and a bunch of the doors are actually locked. And so you're going from room to room, solving puzzles or beating ghosts to get keys that will unlock another room, which may not be the one right next to it either, and you're just going around getting keys, unlocking doors, and the mansion itself is one big puzzle. And you slowly open up wider and wider. Maybe there's one door that never gets unlocked in the original area, so you go all the way down to, like, 2 areas down, they give you a key, and you have to run back to the first area. I like it. I like the fact that the mansion's almost open world in a way, and it's a giant puzzle in itself. 3 is kind of a lot more like that. It's just most things are limited floor to floor. There are occasionally story-related things that will push you down floors and stuff. There's some interaction. But each floor is almost like its own small mansion. It's still open world. 2 is the black sheep of the bunch at this point, because instead of having like this small little open world experience where each mansion is a puzzle, it throws you into fucking missions. It's like the same problem I had with Resident Evil. Once you get to like 4 was still mostly open, but like 4 and up became more of like an action thing where it's like, hey, go in, here's the mission you're doing, go do it, progress to the next area. And there were multiple mansions, but you couldn't even explore the whole mansion at any point in time because parts of the mansion were segmented to different missions that you unlock throughout it. And then at the end of each chapter, they put you into this like time trial rush thing to actually make it more of an action game where it's like, the mansion's gonna explode if you don't take out ghosts fast enough and also try to get out. And it's like, why? Why? I fucking hate Dark Moon. It's such a...
I don't remember that part.
There's a couple mansions. It's like the ecto whatever is overloading, and if you don't like, you have to keep it down by constantly catching ghosts while you're moving on your way to solve the problem. And if it hits over the cap, like there's 100%, and then if it goes over, the house just like you lose the mission, have to start over.
Yeah.
And it's
yeah,
usually,
I do.
If it happens, it's like the last mission in the chapter, next to the boss.
I remember the thing that annoyed me most about it was that the missions would end, and I'm like, I wanted to do one more thing. You know, there was
I still got
one
stuff
more
to
area.
explore.
Yeah, and it would just end, and you'd have to start all over.
That the snow boss, where you're like on the sled, or you're like sliding down the slope, and you're trying to fight it or whatever. That boss can go fuck itself.
Well, isn't there one that's like a spider, like a spider tunnel, or a tunnel with a big spider at the end? That one annoyed the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I don't remember why. I just remember having to do it multiple times because I couldn't get it.
There's like a level of RNG involved in it too. It's like,
Yeah.
it can go fuck itself.
Eagle says Dark Moon was fun.
But 3 is great. I highly recommend 3. I still think the first Luigi's Mansion is the best Luigi's Mansion, but 3 is a great game.
Well, it's on sale
Yeah.
this week.
People should get it.
Cool.
Final boss is kind of stupid, but
Also,
it's
Super
not
Mario
bad
and
if you're paying
Zelda.
attention.
Yeah, Super Mario and Zelda socks are on sale on Amazon.
Socks. Socks are a great gift. I don't get people who like scoff at socks.
Cool socks are nice.
Okay.
I got socks once for Christmas from my girlfriend's sister. She sent me socks.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
They had little Game Boys on them. It's very nice.
I need more cool socks. I've got like back when I was interested in Loot Crate, which I was very, very short-lived. I think I got like maybe 6 of them and then I canceled it. Mostly because it turned out it wasn't random. The thing about Loot Crate that I thought from what they were advertising is that it was going to be like they had a warehouse full of stuff and they would just give you random things based on the theme. But no, it turned out everything was for the most part set, and there might be like you'll get a variant 1 of 4 of these things. Like, this is garbage.
Yeah,
but I got a lot of cool shirts out of it. So
I used to imagine they just grab a bunch of crap. And just
yeah, that'd be cool. Like I'd pay for that service. You find like this I don't know, Pokemon Happy Meal toy from the 90s that just happened to be in their freaking their warehouse. They're like, oh yeah, nice. But no, that's not what they do. But I got this like nice pair of like Groot, like I think it was baby Groot socks, because that was about the time that I had it. That's like the only cool socks I have. They're warm too. I don't know where they are. They're somewhere.
Cool.
That service would have been called crap in a box. Yeah, but you know what? I'd take it. That sounds like a much better service than what Loot Box actually does. I don't care about their highly marketable crap. I want random shit that nobody knows what they're gonna get.
That's right.
Plus,
It makes it fun.
Crap in a Box, I believe that was already done by the Cards Against Humanity people.
They did crap in a box.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
I mean,
what else is
I've
going on?
got dogs. If we want to do a Crap in the Box service, I can go scoop some up, just ship them out to people.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd appreciate that, but
Well, I
They
mean, that's
should.
what they're ordering, you know. Boy. Let's see. We do have stuff to talk about. Well, we could talk about Mario for a little bit longer, though. What was?
Yeah, I'm just
you
looking-
actually asked a question about Thousand Year Door. Was it just you wanted to know what system it was on, or you brought it up for a reason a while ago?
well, a couple things. I mean, I mostly just because I'm looking at this article about Mario games that they wish would be ported to Switch,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them was that, and I've never played it before, so I was wondering, A, what system was it on, Nintendo 64, and B,
the Thousand Year Door was GameCube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The first Paper Mario was
Yeah.
Nintendo 64. And then my other question was, what are they? Since I've never played them, it seems like they're very similar to Super Mario RPG. So I was just wondering,
Yeah, and
were related.
and they play similar to the Superstar Saga too, where it's kind of like the type of game where there's action commands in it. So when you go and hit an enemy, if you have perfect timing, you can like jump twice, or if an
It's
enemy
similar
hits
to-
you, you can hit A and you'll defend and stuff like that. It's just how Mario does their RPGs and everything.
Yeah, that's how it worked in
Yeah.
Super Mario.
It's
That was
been a
it.
pretty steady progression.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's a good game.
It would be cool if they ported those to Switch.
Yeah, like a double box. Hopefully
Yeah.
not at full price, but yeah, I would take it.
Especially because people have been so disillusioned by all of the more recent Paper Marios.
Yeah, well, the problem is, I can at least still say Super Paper Mario is a good game. I don't know if it's a good Paper Mario game, but it is a good game. Now that there are 6 Paper Mario games, we're actually hitting the point where if they make another bad one, there are more bad games in the series than good. So would that make the series bad? And it just happens
Right.
to have a couple good titles.
TMT says, I like that when Marsupial gesticulates his hands look like they're rendered by an N64.
Yeah. The
'cause
64
of
actually
my
had a tremendous like rendering capability for its time. The only problem
turned
was
off-
the textures.
Well, it does. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's probably the background thing that's doing that.
And it's memory that's the real purpose, right? So like 64 had the coolest anti-aliasing method that like any systems ever had, and they just kind of dropped it because it was unnecessary in the way that they like smooth things out. But the problem is it didn't matter how good your method was if your textures could only be 64 pixels by 64 pixels.
Hmm.
Sometimes I found cool tricks, like the big clock tower in Majora's Mask is actually only 2 different like sprites or tiles, and they're mirrored next to each other, so it's like 2, and then they mirror it again. So you can find some cool tricks, but then you'll have like if you take the anti-aliasing and the compression off, and the trees, which kind of look like artifact wood, but it looks somewhat smooth, just become really sharp and ugly looking because how big the pixels get stretched across it.
Hmm.
So textures
Yeah,
were a
that's
big
right.
problem.
When you zoomed in on something, you'd really see
Yeah.
all of the little pixels.
Well, the part is if you don't take the compression off, the way the system works, you could continuously zoom in and it would be the same level of smoothness no matter what. When it worked. Sometimes it didn't. There were times when the system didn't work. But it basically had near infinite zoom, or however far the camera could get, and it would still smooth out continuously. And like no modern system uses that anymore. You don't need to. There's other ways around it, but it's one of the like most advanced smoothing systems that any console's ever had.
Is the N64?
Yeah, it's just it became unnecessary.
Yeah, well, I think that's also probably why a lot of times, like when you take a screenshot, it looks a little bit blurry.
Yeah, everything looked blurry because they were smoothing everything out.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the PS1 where everything looked jagged and sharp because there was like no anti-aliasing on the PS1.
Yeah.
And the 64 was like the first system to really do anti-aliasing.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like the Saturn had the same problem because there was no anti-aliasing on the Sega Saturn either.
Mm-hmm. Was the PS1 considered a 32-bit or 64-bit system? Or?
I think it was 32.
32, yeah.
Yeah. It did not have the graphical capability that the 64 did. The advantage of the PS1 was how much memory could be stored on a disc at the time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which is also why, like, you could take a game from the PS1 that the polygon was a lower count, like, say, Metal Gear Solid. But certain things in the environment looked way better because their tiles could be up to, like, 256 pixels or something like that. It could be, like, 4 times the size of a N64 tile. You could fit 4 64 tiles in one tile for the PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because of the disk's memory. They can hold bigger tiles.
Mr. Squeaker says, my 3D printer has a 32-bit control board.
Oh, nice. And you don't really get much things with 32-bit anymore. Like, even all modern computers, due to the operating system, they only use 64-bit systems.
Mm-hmm. I don't really know. I mean, I guess was it memory addressing? Is that what they were referring to and talked about 64-bit in the N64?
I'm actually not sure. I know the processor.
Yeah.
But I don't know all the specs. I know how they rendered graphics. I've watched like a lot of like tutorials and behind the scenes of like how the programming for the N64 worked and how they did the models and stuff. I'm not too keen on like the hardware side of it, just the software side of things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know it doesn't correspond because like PCs were 32-bit
way
like,
later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the same thing as like, you know, PlayStation being 32-bit. I think they were to different aspects of the hardware. And like right now, everything on PC is 64-bit. But that doesn't mean that it's going back to the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
64-bit is basically memory addressing, which means essentially it's I don't know if we'll ever need to go to 128. I mean, 64 gives us memory addressing into the stratosphere.
Yeah. I'm assuming because that's how it worked with the previous stuff too, right? Like it was always memory addressing. If you go back to the 8 and 16-bit eras.
Yeah, but I'm willing to bet those were actually 32-bit processors.
Probably.
Like from the NES all the way through to who knows, PS2 or something was probably all 32-bit processors technically.
Yeah. Well, because why would they? I mean, by the time of the 80s, weren't computers already using 32? Why would you use anything less?
Yeah, exactly. I think it had to do with something else. Something else that I'd have to look up to figure out what the hell they were talking about.
I'm not too big into the hardware side. I'd have to look at. I know more of the software side of things because that's what I've read and watched a lot of stuff on.
Most of it was just marketing gobbledygook, like blast processing.
Oh yeah, like have that shit meant nothing.
Means absolutely nothing. It's so blast.
Yep. In fact, it's hardware. From what I know, the Genesis's blast processor was marginally more powerful than the Super Nintendo's, if at all. Like, they were pretty comparable to each other.
Yeah. Yep. And now they don't even, I mean, you can look up the specs, but it's mostly about teraflops and all that jazz. Blast and blood. Oh, so important. Blast and blood, eh?
Mega Drive was basically, I don't know, it's non-existent for most people's memory. I think because there was a lot of continuation between consoles.
No, wait, Mega Drive, wasn't that the name of the Genesis?
Yeah, I think so. But it also wasn't. Like, they're the same thing, but there's also, like, a separation between them.
Really? Like, you're not thinking of, like, the Sony Master System, right?
No. Yeah, it was the Mega Drive is what it's called outside of North America, okay.
Right, so it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Successor to the Master System. I had a friend who had a Master System when I was a kid. That's how I was introduced to Phantasy Star.
Yeah, I think I was thinking of the Master System. The Master System's the one that falls into the memory hole.
Right. Because that came out, I mean, that was the equivalent to the original NES, but it really did not do well on the market. They didn't do it nearly as well. Sold the Genesis / Mega Drive, which had blast processing.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think the word Mega Drive is ever gonna click with me. Because it was Genesis here, right? That's the real reason. Yeah.
That's right. Crazy.
I'm always going to confuse it for the Master System.
Yeah, your weird names for things.
Yeah. Well, you think that's weird? I mean, Nintendo's naming conventions.
Was it still called the NES, or was it the Famicom in Europe?
No, I think it was still the NES.
Yeah.
Because it had the NES. The Famicom was structurally a different system, even though like the motherboard was the same.
Yeah. They didn't have the microphone in the controller.
Yeah. Or the net hookup.
Right. That's right.
We got a neutered version of the system.
I know, seriously. Well, they were like really like hesitant to even introduce it in the United States because of the whole sour taste in our mouths from the Atari.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to market it as like a computer more than a video game system, practically.
Well, it's funny, the Famicom was marketed as a computer. It's the family computer. Yeah.
Yeah, but they actually, I'm wrong about that. I think they marketed it more as a toy than like a video game system, because they tried to sell it, with the Rob the Robot thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the big thing here, is that you had to sell things as toys. After the video game crash, I remember watching, I think it was Icons did a good episode on this. I've brought up GeForce Icons a lot because they actually have industry professionals from that time in the interview, so you can get their perspective of things. I think it's a really good show for people to watch. You can still catch most of Icons on YouTube. Like, the G4 Icons channel is still running. I think there's like 54 episodes up that you can watch. And they were talking about how Nintendo marketing the system as a toy is pretty much the only way they could sell it in the States after the crash. Mm-hmm. And marketing it towards kids, because traditionally video games weren't marketed towards kids. Yeah. And that's because kids can't afford video games. Like how many kids are running to the arcade to play? You get a few, but it's like teenagers on their breaks or off of school and stuff like that. Maybe some adults playing pinball. But marketing it towards kids is what really saved the video game industry. And then throughout like the whole of the 90s, they were seen as like a kids thing.
Mm-hmm. Probably why Nintendo dominated.
Yeah, I mean, they're so family friendly in general. Like, sure, there were other people making, even back then, more mature games. Like, maybe the one exception, Nintendo had Castlevania, which is very much a mature game compared to most of the other stuff that they were putting out. You had a guy, like, there wasn't, like, blood or anything, but you had a guy dealing with, like, horror monsters and fighting Dracula. But other than that, everything was just so fairy tale, family friendly, and it was a good thing to market to kids.
Yeah.
But I think that's also the problem, which I don't think the ESRB inherently is a bad thing. You'd rather the market self-regulate than have somebody else come in. But I think that's what eventually got it, because video games really aren't a kids thing, but they were being marketed to kids in the States for years, and then Mortal Kombat comes out, and it's no weirder than the stuff that used to be marketed to adults. It's just now that we have graphics that can display blood in real time, even if it's pixelated. And what was the other one? Night Trap was one of the other ones. There's like 2 or 3 games that caused the ESRB system to be made in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were trying to stave off the government censoring. Self-censoring, essentially.
Well, this is
self-rated.
why I have problems with Ed Boon totally becoming a cuck over everything. And be self-censoring and doing all these other things. Because Ed Boon, during that time, literally flipped off Congress. Like, he was the bad boy of the video game industry. Like, who normally has the balls to show up to a congressional hearing where your entire life, like, blood could be on the line, and you decide you're going to flip them the bird?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And now it's like Ed Boon's become a pussy.
What do you think about this mini Nintendo 64 console?
Have they rumored it or actually announced it?
No. It's just like one guy that made one.
Oh, the one we were talking about before. I thought, because you mentioned the NES or SNES Classic, and I thought maybe, oh God, is Nintendo actually moving on to the 64 now? Why?
That would be cool.
No, the one we were talking about. Yeah, the Guinness Book of World Records smallest N64. Yeah, I think it's cool. So to set it up, Guinness Book of World Records has like a lot of like really odd records that I don't even think matters, and this is one that doesn't matter, but it's cool. And somebody made the smallest N64 possible to date. I don't know if it could get any smaller, because from what it looks like, it's basically just enough room for a screen, the controllers all mounted onto the board, and then the cartridge fits into it. Like, I don't know how much smaller you can make this.
You want me to share my screen on that or not?
I could share an image of it. Let me just pull it up.
It's cool. The cool thing about it is, if you watch the video, he actually, it's not like he made a Raspberry Pi and enclosed it in a case with a controller and a screen. He actually took apart an actual Nintendo 64 and used the actual hardware, the motherboard and everything. Just repackaged it in a tiny little thing that's like smaller than an N64 cartridge. Like, the cartridge sticks out the top.
Like it's just enough room to mount the cartridge in.
Yeah. And that's actually got original Nintendo 64 hardware in it, so it plays any game.
It does seem to have Joy-Cons, though. Like, at least the joystick from them.
Yeah, he put in the Joy-Con controller things. Or whatever, D-pads. Now, here's what I wonder. Does it play the ones that require the red top memory upgrade?
I don't see why you couldn't, because I'm sure you could probably just mount more memory in there, though. With the limited space, that seems to be a problem.
Yeah, no, it shows it in this video I'm seeing. It shows it playing Ocarina of Time, But that didn't require the memory that
it didn't.
Majora's Mask required the memory upgrade.
Yeah, it was Majora's Mask, Donkey Kong, and Perfect Dark, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's interesting that there were only like 3 games that required it.
Yeah, but a lot of games benefited from it, though, so that was good.
Yeah. But, like, they're the best, or at least 2 of them are the best games on the system.
Yeah, I mean, Perfect Dark was a really good game.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute. It does... Oh, I thought for a second it did show him playing Majora's Mask, but no. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a video of how he did it, and it's showing how he actually took apart...
What's the smallest that you can make a RAM? Like, what's the smallest RAM can, like, get physically in size? Because you don't need a lot, right? Like, you don't need, like, a modern strip, right?
No, I mean, all you need, you could probably do it with a tiny little micro
like
SD card.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Or equivalent sort of chip.
Yeah, because I can imagine, especially with the requirements of the 64, like, you could do it with basically nothing. You just need to load up more than what's already in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't actually, like, listened to the video. I don't know if he talks about whether or not it works, whether or not it has the extra memory or not. But, I mean, nowadays, like you said, there's no reason why it couldn't.
Yeah, especially everything's getting smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it's cool. Does it say the guy's name?
Let me see.
Oh, Gunnar Turnquist.
I don't know if that's a real name or a handle. That could go either way. Well, especially when you start getting up to, like, the like Scandinavian areas. Gunnar doesn't sound like that weird of a name, but then Turnquist doesn't sound like it belongs in that area whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah. Again, a very weird thing to actually care about for a record, right?
Yeah.
Like, so the only reason you would track a record, I guess, somebody has to declare it, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to record it.
Yeah, I mean, he must have submitted it. He must have called them up and, like, hey, look at this.
But, I mean, like, is it that impressive of a record if the record didn't already exist, right? Like, it's an impressive looking thing. I like it. But, like, does it matter as a feat? It's like, oh, this record didn't exist, so, like, I could just claim it. Let me go submit this. Yeah. This is what I hate about the Book of World Records.
And in the video, it shows previous ones that other people did that were bigger, but I don't know if they ever submitted it to the Guinness Book of World.
Yeah, it's like, we're only tracking it now because we already have this record.
Yeah.
It's like, I could go just find something that nobody's ever recorded and be like, first one to do it, clearly I have the record.
Yeah. Guinness Book is so stupid.
It is.
And it's somehow actually related to the Guinness beer.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the same company.
Oh, I thought it was just like a family name, like a surname, and they just happened to be the same. I had no idea they were related.
No, it's the same company.
That's interesting.
Based in Ireland or whatever, wherever Guinness is located.
That does make me... Well, Guinness is an Irish thing. That makes me like it a little bit more, oddly enough. I don't even like... I don't drink beer or like Guinness, but that makes me like it more. It's probably just the Irish in me. That's probably where it is.
Yeah. Probably it.
Yeah.
No, I actually just recently found that out too. I mean, a couple of years ago, but yeah. Same company. I do like Guinness. It's probably my favorite beer.
Yeah.
I like stouts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't drink beer. If I did, I'd probably drink Guinness, but I just don't. Like, I'd probably... maybe if I was out with people, I'd have one.
Mm-hmm.
But
I like
I'm
dark.
more of a.
Dark.
I
More of a what?
No, I was gonna say I'm more of a bourbon guy, but even then, I only have like a single. Or whiskey.
I like
You actually don't get good Irish whiskey here.
Yeah. I like stouts and ales.
Yeah.
Dark, bitter beers. Much better than like fruity IPAs and stuff. But I like whiskey too.
Or maybe you occasionally have a good glass of wine, but it's like I don't like the feeling that comes with alcohol. Like I don't even like being buzzed at all.
Really?
Yeah. That's why I don't drink it. I don't like that feeling. So I'll have a single one or two, but that's it.
Yes, I recall GMT buys network infrastructure whenever she drinks.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Don't quite understand that, but okay. No, it always drives me nuts when Nick Ricada says he doesn't like Jack Daniel's whiskey. And I'm like, I can understand I don't like Gentleman Jack, but they have much higher quality, better whiskey than that. And I even asked him if he's tried the single barrel. That's very good. He says he's tried it and he didn't like it.
My only problem is that it's called whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Like, I understand, especially Tennessee whiskey, you're trying to separate yourself from Kentucky bourbon, especially because of local pride and different ways of producing things. But as far as I'm concerned, if it's not from Ireland, it's not whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a personal thing. Because that's where it comes from.
Okay, as opposed to Scotch, which is from Scotland, right?
Yeah.
Can't you have Irish whiskey and other kinds of whiskey?
I mean, you technically could. But I'm a stickler for that stuff.
GMT points out that it's called whiskey, but you never get a whisk from it. Or with it.
Yeah. I mean, Tennessee whiskey's pretty good, though. Like, I'm not going to knock it.
Yeah.
I just don't like the naming convention. That's like my literal only problem with it.
So what do you call it? Do you call it all bourbon? Or would you prefer to call it
originally, before Kentucky claimed the name on it, anything from this side of the pond was bourbon.
See, I don't consider anything outside of Kentucky to be bourbon.
Yeah, that's how it's become. And that's very much a localized American thing, that we even separate things by like states and stuff like that. And a lot of it does have to do with the differences in processing, like how long they let it what's it called, ferment, and how many times they cask it and stuff like that.
Yeah. True.
Maybe we just need more names, instead of just using other names, you simply need more names.
Well, Jack Daniels, after they've used their barrels, actually send the barrels to Scotland to make Scotch.
Oh, that's nice.
So a lot of actual Scottish Scotch. I guess that's all there is.
Well, the reason why I don't have too much of a hang up too talking about that is that Jack's brewing process is a lot closer to how they do it in Ireland than any bourbon in America is. So it is closer to actual whiskey. It's just I have a hang up on the naming convention.
Well,
yeah.
What else is going on? Did you see this TMNT video game?
No, I kept seeing things about TMNT. I didn't know it was a game.
Yeah, there's a new TMNT Brawler coming out called Shredder's Revenge. Coming to PCs and consoles. And it's just like the classic arcade TMNT beat 'em up.
I do like beat 'em ups. And specifically, I'm not super fond of the first one, but Turtles in Time is a really good beat 'em up.
Yeah. Yeah, this one is very similar to Turtles in Time. It says it's inspired by that game.
Oh, good. Good. There were lots of improvements to Turtles in time that if you were going to go in that direction, that would be where you would at least start. You wouldn't want to go backwards.
Yeah. I mean, it basically looks like it's kind of like what you'd imagine if like Turtles in Time were like remastered, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to figure out who the publisher is or the developer. But yeah, there is a Steam page up for it already. Shredder's Revenge. It's obviously not available yet.
As long as it's not Platinum Games, that's all I care about.
It says developer Tribute Games, publisher Dotemu.
Okay, I'm not familiar with them, so that might be fine. Though.
Publisher of Streets of Rage 4.
Okay. Streets of Rage 4 was good.
And I don't know, this developer has made Panzer Paladin and Steel Assault.
Those are good games too.
Maybe. But anyway, yeah, TMNT Shredder's Revenge is currently listed on Steam. Not available yet.
That's good. Because the last big, hyped up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game that I remember was done by Platinum Games. And I like Platinum Games. I'm not trying to shit on them in general. I think they're a good company. But anytime they do licensed projects, what's his face? The guy who runs it. I'm trying to remember his name. He hasn't banned me on Twitter yet because I actually bothered to talk to him in Japanese. God, what is his name? Well, he'll actually, it's on his thing too. Like, he gives people warning in his bio and nobody pays attention. If you talk to him in English, he'll block you. And people talk to him in English and they get blocked, almost like they're proud of it. It's like, whatever. What is his name? I cannot remember. But if it's a licensed game, he doesn't really work on it. That's it, Hideki Kamiya. And Kamiya is like the guy who created Dante, and he was worked on the first Devil May Cry, but then he jumped ship. He did come back to work on Devil May Cry 5 with them, and he also made the Bayonetta series, and he jumped Capcom to make Platinum Games. He started his own studio. But he doesn't really work on the licensed games themselves. It's like the licensed games exist to get funding, like to bring in money for the other games he wants to make. So like his studio will work on it, and they all end up being crap. Playing like Devil May Cry ripoffs just in whatever world it's supposed to be in. And then he'll go make a wonderful game, originally like was it Astral Chain that came out recently for the Switch within the last couple of years, or The Wonderful 100, or Bayonetta as example. Like they'll make great games, and then the licensed ones are just like, I know this is just for money. This is the only reason these games exist, not for the art of making a good game.
Yeah.
And that was the fate of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game by Platinums.
If you'll excuse me, I think I had too much Pepsi. I gotta pee.
Okay.
Be right back, real fast.
Yeah. I do like Kamiya though. He's an eccentric guy. He's the type of guy that if you look into his past, he seems like the person who should be working on the games he's working on. You look like a picture of young Kamiya when he first met his wife, and he's wearing like a red scarf on top of like a leather biker jacket and stuff like that. And he looks like he should have been a protagonist to one of his own video games. And you get that from some like the Japanese devs and stuff that not all of them, some of them are just like engineering nerds, but some of them are just like really interesting people that if they weren't working on these games, they'd probably be out writing interesting stories because of their life experiences. Yeah. But that's the thing, like, I'm always interested in, like, the next Platinum game. I'm never interested in their licensed titles because of that. Yeah. Oh. Well, I did have another topic I want to move on to. But I don't want to move on to it until Marsupial gets back.
I'm back.
There you are. Okay. And we can move on to Animal Crossing.
Whew. That'd go really bad.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to tap out
Yeah.
in a bit, but I can hold on for at least another topic. Yeah, Animal Crossing. So, got an announcement that the Build-A-Bear company is partnering with Nintendo for their popular Animal Crossing franchise. But we have no idea which members of their massive cast are going to be in it yet.
Yeah.
So we know that it's going to be at the Build-A-Bear workshops, as far as I know. Some Build-A-Bear stuff I know you can order from their website. Like, they have, like, pre-made thing, like, pre-assembled stuff if you just want to buy it outright. But the whole point of Build-A-Bear is going there, picking the thing, the whole fill-up process, because the kids get amazed, picking out the outfits and stuff for people. So nobody's going to care about any pre-assembled stuff. But we don't know which characters are going to be at this Build-A-Bear thing. And this is not the first time they worked with Nintendo. They've worked with the Pokemon Company before. They've had several different Pokemon stuff that you can do. Eevee, Pikachu, stuff like that. I'm assuming Isabelle is going to be one of them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't like her, but she is super popular. Tom Nook will probably be one as well, realistically speaking. He, believe it or not, is probably the most popular character in the franchise.
I'm trying to find this article. I know I saw it earlier. Oh, here it is. I found it. Yeah. Well, I hope, I always forget the name of, I always forget the name of my favorite, villager. I don't know why I always forget her name.
I know I know all of my favorite villagers. My brother has a weird choice, though. He likes the rabbit Dottie, and she's the one that's, like, mostly white, but she's got, like, the black above her eyes and the white split down the middle.
Mm-hmm. Mira, who is also Mira is my favorite. So, I hope they have Mira. Where's Dottie?
Yeah, Dottie. That's my brother's favorite.
Dottie is mostly white?
Well, she's like a black and white rabbit, from what I remember.
Oh, I guess this is... Oh, yeah. Black and white, with, like, cyan ears.
Yeah. My favorite rabbit is Ruby, who's like a completely white rabbit with, I think, red eyes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, freaky looking.
Mr.
Yes,
Speakers is Filbert.
Yeah. Mira is the sort of superhero. She has like a red mask.
Yeah.
Sort of superhero outfit.
Yeah, I think she's she's not like new, but compared to like the history of Animal Crossing, she's one of the newer ones.
Yeah, she was new as of New Leaf.
Yeah.
So pretty new. Because that was the first Animal Crossing I ever played. So.
They included a lot of more unique designs as of New Leaf. I mean, there were some fairly unique ones older than that too. Like, I think in the second Animal Crossing Wild World, the elephant Big Top was introduced, which I don't know if with Wild World sometimes you could glitch and characters would have different personalities. I think Big Top is supposed to have like a sporty personality, but he had like the evil villain personality for me in Wild World. And I don't know if that was like a glitch or something, but he was really interesting because of that. Because he was this dude wearing like a stunt helmet.
Yeah, he's supposed to be lazy.
Lazy, okay, yeah. But he had like this evil villain personality. Probably because of a glitch. And like you see this dude who's like all Evel Knievel having master plans of taking over the world, and that was hilarious.
Yeah. Filbert's also lazy. Lazy squirrel.
Yeah. I've had Filbert a few times.
GMT says adding Build-A-Bear to Animal Crossing sounds like a recipe for Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah. Like, I actually don't think the whole evil villain personality was supposed to be anybody's personality, but it was like one of those latent things that was programmed into Wild World that never got used, so I think sometimes it would just glitch and a character would have that for no reason.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
When I search for that, all it comes up with is red.
Yeah. But it was there. Like, and you could see this too because my brother, and this is probably why I got a glitched version of this character. My brother was really into the action replay. So he was always like modding things. I actually had to restart Wild World at one point because him using the action replay messed up my town, and there was like a tile where I could not interact with it. It was like a dead ghost tile in my house. Like I could not move furniture past it or anything like that. And like whatever, I finished the catalog anyway. I'll just start over.
Are you sure it wasn't just like the cranky personality or the snooty?
No. So when you open up the action replay, you can actually change a character. And this is again why I think I got the glitch because. He didn't change Big Top, but the act of changing any character probably infected some other characters due to spaghetti code. And one of the options in there, in like the recesses of things they didn't use, was like a villain personality that you could set to people. And they had and it had to have been something that was in the code for it to carry over from town to town. Like it wouldn't just attach to a character in your game, and the actual replays what changed it. Because how would it interact from somebody moving over?
Yeah. This was in New Leaf?
No, this was back in Wild World.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Much older game.
Yeah, so no word yet on whether you're going to be able to put animatronics in these Animal Crossing
I don't know
bears.
if there's anyone stopping you from doing it once you bring it home. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. You're going to have the bite of 85 come to life.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who they definitely... Because I don't know how many of the normal villagers... There's like 400 characters in Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I don't know how many new villagers they'll put in, or even just like unique villagers. It'll probably be the more shopkeep NPC type characters, if I were to guess. Just because there's almost no villager, like neighbor you can have that is more popular than the other. Like there's certain ones that are definitely more popular than some others, but there's no like one that really sticks out. Like there's just a bunch of different camps of people that have their favorites.
Yeah, Squeakers is right. It's the bite of 87, whatever.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I don't pay that much attention to Five Nights at Freddy's. Most of the lore I got from is back when I still watched Matt Pat.
So yeah, I'm betting you're right. I'm betting it's almost all like the built, not the neighbor characters, but the
like the shopkeep
sort of
NPCs and stuff like that.
Yeah. Which I miss. I forget who they were. The ones that would buy your stuff
Retail,
in
right?
New Leaf.
Cyrus and Reese.
Yeah, were they sheep? Or
no, they're alpaca.
goats or something? What?
They're alpaca.
Alpaca, right.
Yeah. I actually have a Cyrus amiibo. Yeah, in the other room.
Oh, okay. And they're not in New Horizons, are they?
Well, they were during the summer. It was before you got your Switch. They were at the wedding event.
Oh.
They came in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because summer's wedding season, so there was like this whole little wedding event thing, and they showed up for that. I wish retail was actually in the game. I liked that store. I liked the fact that you could put stuff up for sale and your villagers would buy it and you could buy stuff from them. Little flea market.
I remember retail.
And they would buy, like, I loved, which Nook, I think, does this now, but I loved how you could go and read the sign and be like, today we're paying extra for this. And the one, like, we're paying extra for sharks. And people just start unloading sharks that they had saved up for that day and making like 1,000,000 bells off of it. Like, my whole basement is just wall-to-wall sharks. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah. Waiting for this is my moment.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I liked is, which I don't think you get this, I don't know, I haven't checked to see if the Miles Islands stay tropical, but one thing I liked about New Leaf is that the island, when you went to it, it was summer there all year round. So you could always get beetles and you could always get sharks. And it was a good way to grind money in between selling turnips.
Yeah. And I never really got into selling turnips in New Leaf, not nearly as much as I am now.
Yeah, I didn't really do it as much. Like, I did it at first because, much like with Horizons, there was a good community of I knew people, and we knew each other's turnip prices, so we could go to each other's town. When you're doing it by yourself, the gains on average are marginal.
Yeah. I mean, I have a spreadsheet that sort of predicts what it's going to be, but you're kind of just you're still beholden to the game's randomness. Sometimes.
Yeah, and a lot of times you're lucky if you double what you put into it.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, when you grind sharks or beetles, it's like, well, some of these beetles are worth 13,000 bells on its own, and these sharks are worth almost as much. This is like a guaranteed turnout for the amount of time that I put into the game. And I like that. I like seeing my effort have a one-to-one immediate turnout of what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I've still not run into one of those islands that have like all tarantulas.
Oh, I ran into that several times.
No, I have not.
It's less scary island than it sounds for people who are afraid of tarantulas for some reason. I know some people that they just get so freaked out, not even because they're afraid of spiders in real life, but like they're freaked out because the tarantula will knock them out, right? They're like, I don't want to die in Animal Crossing. It's like, well, you don't really die. It's the same thing to me. But there's like this little island in the middle, and there's like a single space of water in between, so your character can hop right over it. So there's two things you have to keep in mind. One, if you accidentally startle them and they chase after you, you can just run and hop over at any point in time, and it'll just run into the water and you're safe. But you also have to keep in mind that you can't hop over next to one, or else it'll immediately startle it, because it counts as dashing. Yeah.
Now, as far as I understand,
find a clear spot
they
and
won't
then jump over.
Yeah, but they won't rush you unless you have the net in your hand.
So even if you hop over without the net, it still counts as dashing, so you'll scare it away. So you're fine with that if you don't mind losing one and waiting for it to respawn. Because if you run at a tarantula without the net, it startles and runs.
Yeah. It won't attack you. I have caught a tarantula just on my regular island.
I've caught plenty. I have not caught one since I restarted, because, I had to make a new island. But I have one that has been sitting in one of my other houses, because I had two people originally, and I migrated them both over. And, I should really just take, her tarantula away and just donate it to the museum, because I haven't donated a tarantula yet.
Yeah.
But then I keep forgetting to every time I do it.
Oh, well. I haven't played in a while. I need to go back in time, because I think I've missed this whole most recent what was it? Not Mardi Gras, but
Carnival.
Carnival, yeah.
I
totally
think they
missed
called it
Carnival.
Festival, but it was supposed to be for Carnival.
Right.
Yeah.
So I need to go back and experience that.
There is a Dream Island right now that you can go to. The Nintendo, like, of Japan, or like the Nintendo proper Dream Island. There's an address that you can pick up, and it's all decked out with Super Mario stuff. It's like a whole themed island, and it's even got a little bit of platforming because it does some of that single space water where you have to jump over and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah. It's awesome. Eagle put a link to a trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. That looks pretty cool.
I don't enjoy those games.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very nerve-wracking to me.
Well, it's not that, because like, it is a stress simulator. That's pretty much all those games are. It's how well you can handle stress and keep mitigating things over and over.
Yeah.
I don't get entertained from them. Like, I don't get stressed. I don't even get scared from them. I get kind of pissed because I see it as like a moving puzzle. So I'm not even looking at the terrifying things or anything like that. It's just like, oh, I failed the puzzle. But I just don't enjoy myself playing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've played for like 5 minutes and I just didn't like it.
They are very stressful games. Like, even if you see it as a moving puzzle and you don't care about the horror stuff, it's pushing you over and over again. Like, here we go. How stressful can we make you? You got to be perfect. This is day 5.
That's right. No.
I love playing co-op horror games with people who do get freaked out, though. That's the best. I really wouldn't call Resident Evil from 4 and on horror. They're more action games, but there's some frightening stuff in it, especially if you get freaked out easily. And I was originally playing it with my college roommate at the time. Online, he goes by Le'Veon. And we've done some stuff together, production-wise. And we were sitting on the couch, everybody else was watching, and we get to the part where you're at this oil rig in 5. And you need to, like, flip these, like, switches to turn the fire down that's stopping you from progressing out of the area. But the second that you flip one of the switches, one of those chainsaw guys comes running after you. And we figured that out the hard way. One of us died the first time. I think it was him. And if one of you died, both of you game over because you both need to be there. And I'm like, okay, here's the plan. I'm the better shot, so I'm gonna go over here, way far away, and pull out my guns. I can snipe even with the pistol, and you are going to activate the switch and run in circles. And then he's like screaming like a madman the entire time. Even though it's like, dude, you're slightly faster than this guy. As long as you just creep through, you're perfectly fine. He's not going to kill you. I've got plenty of ammo. But he's just like wailing, and this is like the way the whole game. Anytime anything slightly spooky happens, he's just screaming like a madman. And then his like pitch gets even higher. After we finally kill the guy and hit the second switch, and a second chainsaw guy comes out. And we end up dying to that one. I'm like, okay, new plan. We both go to each of the switch, hit them at the same time, and then just run to the exit, because I don't think we even have to kill these bastards.
Yeah.
And it turned out we didn't even have to kill those bastards, so...
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most people do like to just watch other people play it.
And I agree with GMT. The most stressful thing in gaming is the music in Sonic when you're running out of air underwater. Bum, 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 and it just like speeds up. Oh,
yeah. Or any underwater scenario where you have to look for bubbles or whatever.
Nah. You've never experienced stress in a video game until you've gone like head to head with somebody who's good at like puzzle games.
Mm-hmm.
Or even just against a computer that's good. Like, go play Pokemon Puzzle League all the way to the end, and then you'll learn what stress in video games is. The Mewtwo battle. Because I hate some of these things. You know how, like, in an RPG, or even, like, in a fighting game, or whatever, you might have to do, like, back-to-back battles without any rest? That's fine. Yeah. I mean, especially in a game where you can grind, you can just get better and better, higher level to where you have plenty of resources to beat both battles. But puzzle games put your mind under such stress as it is when you get into higher difficulties that there's a point where you have to, in Pokemon Puzzle League, beat Gary, and without any break, like there's no saving point. Just because you beat Gary doesn't mean you can start back over that spot. You have to go and then beat Mewtwo immediately afterwards. And if you lose against Mewtwo, you have to go through Gary again.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, it's so easy to lose that to continue, you're constantly doing this back-to-back thing over and over again. And it's like pushing your brain to the limit of that you start losing against the guy that you could already beat consistently. Yeah. Like, it puts you on tilt. That's stress. Go play a hard puzzle game. Then you'll learn what stress in video games is.
Or have you tried Bendy and the Ink Machine?
I've watched it. I don't have any interest in playing it. It doesn't look like my type of game.
That's kind of scary.
I remember like the start of these type of games and stuff, or like the ones where they're trying to get you, the jump sticker games. Back when like, obviously there was stuff before this, but the one that really started the trend was Slender.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do people like this game?
I don't know.
Like, yeah.
Like being scared, I guess.
I was just bored.
Well.
Yep. Let's see, what else we got? Oh yeah, I was gonna bitch about something for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, because I need to bitch about it. So, Wild Rifts is the League of Legends mobile game for like your phone. It's going to be on some consoles because anything that is simplified to be done on a phone could be played on a console. You could not play normal League of Legends on a console. Like that there's too many inputs involved. You just can't do that with a controller. Unless like they gave you a mouse and keyboard or something like that to play with. But a mobile version, if it's simplified that you can play it with phone controls, you can play it with a controller. So Wild Rifts is eventually going to be on consoles, and it's launching within like a month. But then they tell you, it's like, hey, all you people who invested all this time into League of Legends, like me, who's been playing for 10 years, if you want to play Wild Rifts, you have to start over from level 1. I don't even think your characters transfer over from what they're implying, so you have to go and unlock all the characters over again. Even though it's the same account, it's your Riot account, you have to log in with the same one. They were saying like it doesn't have cross-server play. It was like, of course, I mean, normal League doesn't have cross-server play. You pick your server and that's what you play on. But it's like I don't like the fact that I'm finally 146. If they took the level cap off a lot earlier, then I'd probably be way higher than I am now because they only removed it like 3 years ago. So I would have had like 7 years of leveling at that point. But I'm like 146, and they want me to start over at level 1. Even though I'm logging in with the same account. Does that make any sense?
They just want people to start off on a level playing field?
Well, the thing is with League is you're pretty much always on a level playing field. Aside from, like, I guess, if you own more champions than somebody else, you have some advantage because you can counter-pick. Oh, hey, cool, Eagle got his Riot account back. Nice. You need to play with us next time we play Eagle. But you're pretty much always on a level playing field. For like the first few levels, you do need to unlock some of your summoner spells, which are 2 spells you get that are independent of the character you're playing. You can always use these, and you get to pick which 2 you use. And you have to unlock characters, but even some of the newer characters, they're always putting stuff on free rotation, and they've been increasing the amount of free rotation they have because of just how many characters are. There's like 148 characters at this point. They're catching up to the original Pokemon. And so instead of, it used to be 7 characters in rotation at one point, now there's like 15 characters every week that you get to pick from. So like the playing field's pretty much always even. Your outside level does not impact the game at all. You start from level 1 in every single match, and you can only get to level 18. So I don't know why they're not letting you carry your account data over. I know not all of the champions are available at first. But that shouldn't matter, because they should be able to check whether you have this character on Wild Rift or not. And if you already have it on the original system, like the original league, then once it gets put onto Wild Rift, they should just give you the character. I don't know why they made me put so much time and to some degree money, but just a few skins. Most of the skins that got gifted to me, but like I like the game. Of course, I'm going to support it, so I have paid for skins. They put all this time and money just for me to have to start over because they finally made a version of the game that can be played on phone. Which is probably going to stop me from playing the phone version.
Do you feel League of Legends is better than, say, Dota 2?
Yes, I do. I think we've talked about this before, but I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast. Might have just been.
Yeah, no, not really. Because the reason I ask is I have a friend who's absolutely addicted to Dota 2.
Yeah, I don't dislike Dota 2. There are some cool things about Dota 2 that League doesn't have, like you can kill your own minions to deny gold from the enemy. Like, that's one of the cool things. You can send like a pack mule or some type of animal back to the base to bring items to you, but it's risky because that animal can be killed in the path if somebody's like running around in your jungle and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff. The thing is, though, League is a finer tuned game than Dota is. Has a much higher skill threshold than Dota does. And a lot of people don't get that because the entry level, like the amount of knowledge you need for Dota, is a lot higher than League. Like, League's easier to get into. Dota, you have to learn so much more. But the actual threshold for the skill is smaller than League's. So it's like a tighter span of competitive skill. It's still pretty wide because you can tell the difference between somebody who is and isn't good at the game. Like, there's a very clear difference. 2 or 3 like highest level people in Dota could take on like a whole team full of low level people without worrying about it, which you can get in League 2. But League has a much wider span of competitive viability and being able to get good at the game. So it's better for people in both the lower and higher thresholds. If you play both games, most people are going to know the difference. Oh, excuse me. Because most people will always fall in the median of anything anyway. So most people League are in Silver 4. That's like the bulk of everybody who plays the game are in the median. And if you find the placements, it's about the same in Dota. So a lot of people don't get it when you try to say, like, oh no, the skill threshold is much higher here, because they just don't really see much of a difference with their own limitations. The League's item system has always been better. I don't know now, just because League completely revamped its entire item system, so it's going to take some time to really judge that. But League is also more Dota 2 than Dota 2 is, in many ways, right? So Dota 2 is Dota 2 in the fact that it has the characters you know, Due to licensing, Valve had to fight Blizzard for a lot of the rights when it came to Dota 2.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a lot of the creativity behind Dota in it, right? While, like, the founders of League were half the staff or the group that made the original Defense Against the Ancients. Like, you have Morello and stuff like that. And a lot of them are still there. And there's a lot of stuff in the games named after him. There's even a lot of references to the original Dota in the game, as much as they could. League is more of a successor to Dota than Dota 2 is.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, to anyone in the chat, does anyone in the chat play Dota 2, and what's your favorite characters? Curious to know. I'm still trying to find a good gift for this friend of mine.
I told you to try to squeeze your friend's mane out.
I can't. It'll ruin the surprise.
You can't be creative about finding out who their main is?
I don't think so.
I remember there's a few characters. I always liked the Drow Ranger. Like, I was huge into the Drow Ranger in the original Dota. And I kind of like the Drow Ranger in Dota 2. I like a lot of different roles. In Dota 2 specifically, I prefer support, and I really like Io, the Wisp.
Mm-hmm.
Io's a fun character to play. Because Io kind of sits passively. It attaches to a character, but there's a lot of active things you can do while you're doing that. You don't have to worry about movement because you're moving along with the character you're attached to. There's a character in League now that kind of works like Io named Yuumi. I don't like Yuumi as much. Yuumi I find boring. Io, you can like change your rotation distance from the character, and there's a lot of just interesting dynamic things you could do with Io, and I wish League had a character. I wish Yuumi, who's supposed to be like Io, worked more like Io.
Yeah.
There's some really fun characters in Dota. Like, again, I don't shit on Dota or anything. I think it's a good game. I just think League is better.
Are these characters that Eagle is talking about? Teemo, Tom, or Pantheon?
Yeah, dude, Teemo's actually my main in League. I fucking love Teemo. He is the best character. Yeah, he's talking about League characters. Yeah. Teemo's my main. He's this little shit. Even as my main, I have no problem calling him a little shit. And he is a Yordle, which are like these Munchkin characters in League. They're kind of fuzzy. Well, the men are hairy all over. The women only have hair on the top of their heads. And they're like these little gnomish elf people. That and Teemo is kind of just the reference to Mr. Weeble's Badger song, if anybody remembers the Badger song from the early internet. The whole Badger, 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 Mushroom, Mushroom. It's an old thing from the back internet history. And Teemo's is like this little badger dude with a blowgun, right? Like he's got blow darts. And he shoots the blow darts into people and poisons them and does like a dot damage over time. And he also pops these like mushrooms down that go invisible, and they're landmines that when people walk by, they explode and put like noxious poison everywhere. And it slows the person walking through it and does more damage over time to them. And everybody hates Teemo. They think he's a little fucker. Yeah, he's my favorite character to play because of that. And he can blind people too. That's the worst part. Like you're gonna go and attack Teemo, and then he just blinds you, and then you're like missing your attacks, and he's still just poisoning you. And he could go invisible himself. He could just like stand still and disappear. Active camouflage. Teemo's the best. And you can build him however you want. You can build him like magic damage. You can build him physical damage. I've even played tank Teemo. Like, it doesn't matter. You can build him however, as long as you have a consistent build that synergizes with itself, and you play with respect to whoever you're playing against. Right? Like, you're building appropriately, you can kind of just build him however you want.
Boy, you and Squeakers and Eagle could just go on about this forever, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, you know, I could go on about League forever because I've been playing it for 10 years, you know? It's kind of like people, it's like Pokemon. It's like, yeah, I mean, you talked about Pokemon for 2 hours a couple days ago. And it's like, well, yeah, but I've been playing Pokemon since, like, what, when did it come out? 1998 here in the States? And even though I didn't play the last generation, it's not like that stopped me from playing Pokemon. I was just playing other Pokemon-related things or going back and playing old games, you know? Like, I've been playing Pokemon for going on, like, a whole 2 decades now or whatever, you know? Like, more than 2 decades. 2018 would have been 2 decades.
Yeah. Well, I've never played League of Legends, ever. Not even once.
It's a fun game, but, like, it's one of those games, a lot of people would get frustrated because people would try to get them to play it. At one point in time, it might even still be. It's pretty high up there in the numbers, but it was single-handedly the most played multiplayer game in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Beating out things like Call of Duty and stuff like that. And I would recommend it, or at least somebody try it once back in the day, but now I don't try to get people to play it unless they're interested in that type of game. It's not for everyone, you know, it's just not the type of game that everyone would enjoy playing. Because there is progression because you do have character level, like you have your summoner level, that's your personal level of everything. But every match starts over, so progression doesn't really feel like it's happening for the most part, right? There's no, like, you have a character and you level that character up or anything. You don't have, like, this solid, stable progression. And it's multiplayer only. So even though it's got Diablo-like controls and a lot of people would enjoy, like, mechanically the gameplay, a lot of people don't like being forced into multiplayer matches that are, like, head-to-head. A lot of people don't like only having a competitive mode to things, or a lot of people don't like the siege anyway, because the whole game is sieging, right? There's other things you can do. There's other objectives on the map. You can be a jungler, you don't have to be focused on siege, but the main part of the game is sieging other people's towers and preventing them from sieging yours. So if, like, that part of the game itself doesn't interest you, then the whole game won't interest the person.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for Dota. I mean, they're MOBAs. They're the same game type.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah,
cool
yeah, they took away Fiddlesticks crows. Yeah. So Fiddlesticks is a scarecrow. Like a living scarecrow. He's kind of a horror character. They relaunched him too, and they made him even more horrifying. And he used to have this crow that he would throw out at people, and it would bounce from character to character, and it would do damage. But also, it would silence anyone it bounced on. It kind of just bounced randomly, and it would just kind of, like, piss people off. Because it had such a long range, and you could bounce it off the minions if they were trying to stay out of the range of it. And it just stopped you from being able to engage with him directly because you were silenced for like a second and a half.
Yeah.
League's one of those games too. Like, even Dota, because Dota's been around for a while, it just hasn't changed as much. But League as a game has changed drastically from the time that it came out to now. In fact, to some degree, if you weren't just watching it as like a evolving entity, you would think they were two different games, like you're playing League of Legends 2 or something like that. And you can figure out another topic to talk about, because now I'm going to use my restroom break.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about this because I know nothing about it.
No, that's fine. That's another reason why I picked, like, this would be a good time. I feel like we've hit the end of that subject altogether because I'm the only one that can talk about it, and it'd be good for a transition. So I'll be back.
All right. So what's everyone doing? TMT says, I never do anything restful in that room. Not sure what you're referring to. The speaker says it was a 3x3 map. Or 3 versus 3 map. I really liked it. And Eagle says Tom Kench is scarier than Fiddlesticks. The devil is a catfish. Okay. So it looks like NVIDIA is going to put Ethereum mining limiters on future NVIDIA GeForce GPUs. Oh, never does anything restful in the restroom. Yes. Which is interesting. So I used to do Litecoin mining. I never used GPUs. You could, but I always figured they were. I mean, back when I did it, they were more expensive than it was worth. They couldn't mine as quickly as just an FPGA board. So I used FPGA when I did Litecoin mining. But nowadays, apparently, GPUs, high-end GPUs, are cheap enough that they're worth it, and especially, I guess, for Ethereum mining, I guess, as opposed to Bitcoin mining. And the problem with that, of course, is that it's led to there currently is a major run on GPUs. So it's hard to find some of these high-end GPUs because people are using them for Ethereum mining. But apparently NVIDIA is going to be putting limiters on their GPUs so that when they detect that you're using them to mine Ethereum, they're going to slow down.
Like that'll stop anybody. They'll just find ways of taking the limiters off.
Yeah, you would think so.
Like, do they not understand the type of people they're dealing with?
Yeah, really. Cryptocurrency
what would
mining.
stop them from picking up these higher GPUs? If NVIDIA just like caved into the market and just started putting out GPUs that were already modified for mining.
Yeah.
And then the people would just, because it'd be more cost effective, they would just start picking those up instead.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, they could probably take out a lot of stuff. They wouldn't have to include it.
It'd be cheaper.
Like
and nobody would want to pick up these other ones.
Yeah, I was saying I used to use FPGAs, which is basically stripped down GPUs.
Yeah.
They're a lot cheaper, and they mined cryptocurrency a lot faster.
Yeah, they were more efficient. They were designed for a specific purpose. You weren't being bogged down by everything else it needed to do.
Yeah, it's definitely made GPUs more expensive.
Yeah, I think if they did that, because it's a supply and demand thing too. Like, there's a hole in the market. Why would you not just start selling that yourself, right? It would keep the rest of your market more stable. You could start driving the price down of the normal stuff because these mining GPUs would be already cheaper, but being picked up by the people who actually want them, so that you're not scalping out all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I can only imagine that they're just already making them as fast as they possibly can.
Probably. Because you do talk about mining. There's stuff you have to mine to be able to make a lot of these products. You need certain amounts of like gold, platinum, stuff like that. There's like physical things in the world you have to mine to make this stuff.
Yeah. Yep, and rarer elements as they're, coming up on sort of the size of the width of an atom.
Yeah.
As they make the components smaller and smaller, they have to use different sort of elements other than like even silicon to try and make these things. So
one of the problems is we need to open mining back up here in the States, right? That would solve a lot of problems, because most of our minerals and like the elements that we get come from like Asia and Africa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, here's another article about supposed RTX 3060 having been hacked, so that the hash rate limiter was removed.
No, okay.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Although this article is claiming that maybe it was fake, or I don't know. They're doubting the proof, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I would have predicted it would have happened like before anybody even told me it was a problem.
Yeah. So yeah, they can put all of the rate limiters they want. They're going to find a way. They're going to find a way to basically just mask it.
Yeah.
So that the card can't tell that that's what you're doing.
It'd be the easiest way to do it. Just lie to the card. But Squeakers brings up a good point. Making the cards is one thing, but since a lot of this stuff does come from Asia, specifically Chinese areas, especially what's going on right now, and how scared people are of, the Wu flu, letting ships dock to sell these things and transport them is a completely different thing, especially with California being the major port for this.
Yeah.
You actually probably be better off going the long way now, importing in Florida, just coming from the other side, going under what's the Cape? Cape Horn, I think, is the one under Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just go the long way. I know it's a little risky water, but our modern ships can handle that no problem. And just dock in Florida. You'll probably even save money, honestly, even going the longer way because it's Florida as opposed to California.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of other hardware options, just having to pop up a 2 terabyte SSD for $177. Wow.
Ooh, that's actually great.
Yeah, they're getting
Where the
really
heck
cheap.
did that come from? I need to pick up something like that.
Yeah, Crucial SSD on Newegg is listed for $177.
There is
$48.
Yeah, I mean they could just go through the Panama Canal. I'm thinking that way. I don't think the canal's closed right now, right? They never closed it for the like COVID or anything. I think the canal still operates. They could just go through there.
No,
I was stupidly assuming that they would have just closed the canal because everything's closed everywhere in the world. But then I'm remembering, no, this is Central America. They wouldn't do something stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and the Squeaker points out some new cargo ships are too wide for the canal. Yeah, that could be a problem too. It depends how they ship it. They thought about widening the canal at one point too, but then they found out that it would just be way too expensive. And nobody has the budget. Like back, we were the ones that helped put the canal in, so you're mostly working off of U.S. budget. Now that they don't have that. These aren't very prosperous countries down there.
They probably have to build a whole new canal.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that they leave the existing one open.
I think that would probably be more cost effective. Because you wouldn't be able to use the canal during the time that you were trying to widen it if you were widening the original. And it would, like, the amount of effort that would go into widening it without, like, flooding or caves and, like landslides and stuff, it would be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
No one can afford making a new canal now. No one can afford anything now. Every country is broke.
Yeah. Can't afford to send a man to the moon or Mars.
Can't afford to even take over their neighboring countries.
That's right.
That's how broke we are. You're so broke you
Speaking
can't
of
even be imperialist to stop being broke.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear the Roblox Corporation went public?
No, I did not.
I didn't even realize it was called the Roblox Corporation.
I didn't either. I just knew they made the game Roblox. I don't follow it too much. I don't care for the game.
I assumed it was some other name for the game studio or something, but no, apparently the Roblox Corporation were publicly traded for the first time today on the New York Stock Exchange, and their market cap blew past Ubisoft, Take-Two, and CD Projekt, and it's even higher than Electronic Arts.
None of that surprises me.
Their market capitalization is $38.26 billion on day one.
Very popular game. It is super popular amongst like Zoomers, and I don't know what the name of the generation after Zoomers are, because we're gonna have one soon. People are assuming Zoomers are little kids. No, most Zoomers are in like high school right now, going into college. Yeah. Like, we need another name for these like 12-year-olds, the preteens that are actually playing these games. They're not Gen Z. But it's really big amongst that next generation down.
Yeah. Roblox to me is kind of like Minecraft meets Second Life, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I would see it that way.
Use it to make like other games within the game, right?
Yeah, and you can kind of just do whatever you want to do to some degree. I mean, you can do that with Minecraft too. There's servers where people do things like Hunger Games and stuff like that, but Roblox seems to be more oriented towards community stuff, while Minecraft is just kind of like do whatever you want.
Well, that's interesting. I had no idea. So it's RBLX is the New York Stock Exchange.
And I think in many ways they have a like potentiality to make way more money than a game like Minecraft does, because Minecraft makes money off of sales, right? Makes money off of sales, hosted servers, and merchandise. Roblox has an in-game currency for stuff. Yeah. Which a lot of the kids like to get their parents to cough money over for. That's like allowance. No, I just want it in the Robux or whatever they're called.
Yep. I've bought my kids Robux before.
Yeah. Oh, have you?
Yep.
They into that game?
They used to be. I think a little bit less now. They may have outgrown it.
Oh, it's the given age. Like, what the range of your kids?
My son is 15.
Okay.
And my daughter's 12. So I don't know.
So your son is like on the low end of Zoomers, and then she's like the generation after that.
Yeah, but she was never really all that much into it. He was more than she was.
Yeah.
And I think he's moved on to other things.
Well, because it's like a preteen thing. Like, teens could easily outgrow it. Because while it has some of that stuff, like you said, Second Life, it's not geared for it, like, fully, right? Because Second Life was really big amongst teenagers and young adults because of all the crazy stuff you could do in it. Never recommend anybody play that game. You know what ruined my experience? I tried playing it once, and then I walked behind a bush, and there was two furries fucking. And it made me just never want to play that game ever again.
Crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he might still be into it. If he is, then it's his mom buying him the Robux these days, because he hasn't asked me for any more lately.
It's probably because for a while you haven't had any money.
Well, that's possible. That's possible. I should ask him if he wants more. But no, I assumed that he just hasn't played it very much lately. But I'll have to ask. I'll ask.
Yeah, my Mr. Squeaker's like, what? Yeah, my hatred or need to exterminate furries has started at a very young age of, God, I don't even remember when Second Life came out, but whenever Second Life was a popular game, I think I was in high school at the time, and it's like, burn them all, to just get rid of them.
Yeah, maybe initial release date 2003.
2000. Okay, so I wasn't even in high school. I think it was in like middle school at that time. Yeah, and that's when I experienced the furry menace. Yeah. Whenever it hit the height, in 2003, it probably was still before I hit high school. I was probably in junior high.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, it's like just time to a stake and burn them. They're witches. That's my opinion. I'm kidding. I don't actually want anybody killing furries, but in Minecraft, you can kill them in Minecraft.
Yeah, and Second Life.
And in Second Life. That's the thing that can happen. Dude, most of Second Life were people role-playing sex. That was most of that game were people role-playing sex. I don't know if anybody remembers Second Life. I didn't know that going in, and I don't think most preteens and teenagers did. You're just like, oh, this is like a game where you can socialize with people. It's before social media was really a big thing, you know, like Minecraft. Not Minecraft. MySpace might have been like a thing at the time when the height of Second Life, but for the most part, social media wasn't a thing. You went into games to socialize with people. You know, like people socialized through RuneScape. If you weren't on a forum, maybe it was Second Life, maybe some other thing. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people socialized in World of Warcraft when that game came out. You know, that's the closest thing to social media most people had.
People got married in World of Warcraft.
Yeah. But very, very quickly, though, Second Life became like sex roleplay. That's what most people went in.
There you go, GMT.
That's pretty much what happened. I mean, I played it for like a week before that happened. Okay. It wasn't the first thing that I saw, but a game with the lifespan of Second Life, that was pretty early in. Like, seeing something within a week is basically loading up the game, seeing something bad, walking out, and never booting it up again.
Yeah. I'll bring it back again. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely could be a risky thing to do. Colleges holding classes in Second Life. And Second Life wasn't the only game that was like that. There was a few. Because they were basically sim games, right? They took the idea of The Sims, but gave you a controllable character and you played with everyone else. God, what was that other one? It was like a two-letter name, but I can't remember what it was called. I played for a little bit. That was a lot more limited. Probably for the best. But all of those games basically just eventually devolved into sex roleplay. Second Life left me scarred. What was that other place? There was a put 3 solid months into EverQuest 2. Yeah. EverQuest is a good game, I'd have to say. But what is that? There was this one place a bunch of people I knew used to go to. It was very, very popular amongst like middle schoolers and stuff when I was that age. It was probably like the equivalent of people socializing in Roblox and stuff like that. Especially because you could spend real money to buy things on the site. There was some game elements to it, but it really wasn't a game per se. Like it was more of like a social network that had game parts in it, and it was called Gaia Online. Like everybody would go to Gaia, and you had like a little avatar you made. You could set up a room and stuff. You had your own profile page. It was like one of those many like predecessors to social media, and I never really liked it. It seemed like really girly, but you know, if you were on the internet at the time and you were in middle school and all your friends were on it, you were obviously going to hop on to communicate with them.
Yeah.
And you could actually, like, so there were game elements. You could control your little avatar. You could go to other people's, like, houses, like their rooms and stuff that they had set up, and interact, and you could chat. It was kind of like Club Penguin in a way, like, where everybody had their penguin and stuff like that, except everything was embedded into this site. And so, like, there was full web page interaction, and there was also, you could chat with people directly without having to go into, like, the embedded game.
Never did any of these things.
Yeah. Well, that's because you weren't in middle school at the time. You probably would have actually been out of school altogether, so.
Well, yeah, when we were talking, Second Life came out in 2003, I was already, you know, I didn't have kids yet, but I definitely had a mortgage and a job. So.
But for me, being in school, this is how like people were getting together. When if we weren't getting together in person, people were doing stuff in games or on the net, forums and stuff like that. Like a bunch of me and my friends, like my actual personal clique, we would basically all pick one forum at the time, and that's where we would do stuff. And all of us were fans of Zelda, so me and my friends all basically did stuff on Hyrule.net. That was the forum that we were all active on. Which I went to recently. I was very disappointed because apparently it's dead. Like the site's still there. I can log in. I did log in. You can't really reply to things. Like you're not getting any feedback from the server. You can't. I think you can make a new post, but nobody can reply to posts. You can I think the instant messenger embedded into the site still works, but nobody's there, and you can reply to people's profiles directly, like leaving messages on their wall. But it hasn't worked since like earlier last year, and most new posts were 2018, so there hasn't really been much since then. And I kind of regret not getting back into it in 2016 when I re-logged on the first time and was interacting with some people I hadn't seen in years. But it was like there was barely anybody I knew still on the site, right? I knew some, but most of it were like new people that had come. Then like I don't recognize any of these names because I did this back in high school, which was in the late aughts, and it's been like maybe 6 or 7 years since I logged on to the site. I miss forums. I kind of want to make my own forum.
Yeah.
It can't be too hard to make a forum, though, like, with web hosting and stuff. It's got to be, like, one of the easiest things to create and maintain.
Oh, yeah, it's easy. There's easy software. Can't remember the name of the forum software that I've used recently.
Yeah, it's basically you just set up the software and just plugs right into the site, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something called, like, Easy Forum or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
PHPBB is a piece of cake, according to GMT. Probably.
Oh, that might be what... Yeah, I bet that's what I've used. PHPBB.
I've seen that before. Like, when I was looking into it, I just didn't go that far, but I recognize that string of letters.
Yeah, I think that's right. Flit says, First Life sucks enough as it is. Why would I want to play a second one?
I don't know. I mean, if you look at the history of religion and how many afterlives there are, I think there's a lot of people that are hoping for a second life, probably because the first one sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll probably look into making a forum at some point. What I would like is, especially because of like things like Mastodon and stuff, if I could have like a server that links both the forum site itself with an attached like federated network. So obviously forum posts wouldn't go into the network, but you would have the same username at both, because any federated network, it's at the domain. So they would share the same domain as the forums, and the forum would probably just be like forum dot, then the domain dot, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I think it'd be cool to start just a new network of things, like just people interested in similar subjects.
Yeah. You know what was big when I was in middle school? Was
what?
Nothing. Nothing was big.
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
existed.
Absolutely nothing.
Talking to people in person and playing NES, I guess. And books. Books were big. There was no web.
Well, a lot of what I did was in person, still. Like, even with the web. Like, me and my friends, we'd meet up at the park all the time. Like, even into late high school, we were still meeting up at the park to do stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
We used to live action roleplay a lot. Yeah. I was usually the guy running it. very, very sporty systems too. Like we weren't necessarily like, you know, what's it? Fireball, fireball, fireball. We weren't doing stuff like that. We were for the most part stick jockeys, and I would create like sport combat systems and stuff, but we'd still role play into character and everything like that. And a lot of it was heavily influenced by Final Fantasy, but we'd create like really complicated tasks and stuff. We also used to play a game that we called Park Tag, and I think everybody played some variant of this, where like basically the floor is lava. You have to stay on the equipment because like the gravel and stuff at the park would be a no-go zone, and we would do that while also sparring, while live action role playing. Like we would really treat the floor as death. So part of the goal was like Soul Calibur is like trying to get the person off the platform and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun. I kind of miss
I didn't
stuff
even
like that.
I didn't even start using like BBSs until high school. I'm guessing they were around before that, but yeah, BBSs and MUDs and those sorts of things. Wasn't until high school when I got my 386 SX IBM compatible. Because before that, I had an Apple II that didn't have a modem.
No. Yeah, like the problem is, especially because how young I am, I don't really remember a time when the internet wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And I had a pretty poor family, so I'm surprised that we were connected to the internet as early as we were. But like I think I've told you before, thanks to my aunt, we had a like a computer really early on in my life that she donated because she had gotten a new one, and we were hooked up pretty early. And then there was a time where when money got tight, we would basically jump from like free trial to free trial of different network services, like when AOL would start having those discs, and then like NetZero and stuff, and we'd always be jumping around.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was on AOL in high school, and played Neverwinter Nights and that sort of thing. Very expensive, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you could screech down the phone. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, if I didn't have a computer with a modem, I could just screech in the phone.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, my problem is my mom was always on the phone. So anytime I tried to play like Warcraft or anything with somebody online, it's like just in the middle of doing things, all of a sudden you get disconnected.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember getting killed many times by other people in Neverwinter Nights. It was horrible.
Talk about being poor, and my mom's always making long-distance calls to New Jersey to talk to her mother.
Screeching down the phone solves that problem, too. There you go. Your mom gets on the phone, you just get on the phone and start screeching at her.
Yeah. You know, it was weird, too. It's like, the monetary influx was very weird throughout my life. At one point in time in I think it was late middle school, I think this cut out before high school, I actually had my own line in my room. Like my dad was where all our income came from. We shouldn't have been as poor as we were. You can blame my mom for a lot of that. But at one point in time, my dad hooked up a line to my room, so like my friends and stuff could call me directly with a different phone number and everything. And like they always thought it was weird because my friends had, say, like cell phones before me.
Yeah.
But I had my own phone number before a lot of them even had theirs, just because I had my own landline. And I had one friend, really close to his family. He would follow me home after school. Right? Like, because his mom would pick him up from the park, and sometimes I would wait at the park with him, because the park was right next to the middle school. And a few times, like, dude, I have to get home. I have to start doing stuff. I can't sit around here. Can't you just wait here by yourself? So I start walking home, and he is trailing so far behind me that I'm even looking down the street every so often, and I don't see him. Like that's how much he's waiting. He's like waiting behind the corner for me to turn the next corner. So I'm sitting there. I get undressed because we had to wear not really uniforms, but standardized dress. So it's kind of like uniform light. I had to wear polo shirts and stuff like that. Put on my day clothes for like what I'm actually comfortable wearing. And all of a sudden, I get a call on my phone. I pick it up thinking maybe it's one of our other friends wanting to hang out or whatever. And he's like, "Hey, can I come wait inside?" And I look through my blinds, and he's sitting across the street on the curb on his cell phone. I'm like, "No, you can't come inside, but just come to the patio. I'll sit outside and wait for your mom with you."
Clingy.
Yeah.
Sounds clingy.
Well, there were unsavory people sometimes that would wait at the park by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a fighter. You know, I've been practicing martial arts my entire life. He even practiced martial arts. I don't know what was his problem, but I'm sitting here at the park. None of these like punks bothered me. Like he didn't like being there by himself though. Right? He was afraid. He was like twice my size too. Right? Because I was always a small person. I think at that time I was probably still sub 5 feet. Like I was probably 4'11" at that time, less than 100 pounds. But I didn't care. I never gave a shit. And this dude was probably already 5'5" for the grade we were in. Like he was pretty big at the time, and he was probably like 130 pounds. Which, I mean, he was pretty big for his age, and I'm small, and he's afraid to sit at the park by himself. I was like, I'm the one that's going to protect him, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably would have been, but, like, come on, dude, grow a backbone.
So the first time I ever saw the web was my senior year of college, and watched a video of the intro to The Lion King.
Oh, wow.
I remember that on Mosaic, the Mosaic web browser. I remember distinctly at a friend's house.
I guess somewhat related, The Lion King was the first movie I ever saw in the theaters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool. I think the first movie I ever saw was American Werewolf in London.
No, that's a good one.
Back in 1983, I believe.
Now, see, the movies are so old, though, that's an experience, even though it's a different movie, that everybody can relate to as seeing their first movie. Like, there's some people that, due to when the internet came out, like, how they perceive their first experience on the internet can be very, like, just dramatically different from other people's. But other than maybe movies being in color or something like that, like, seeing movies young, it's mostly the same experience. Like, we have better looking movies, sure, but like I think everybody can relate to that, because is there even anybody alive now that the first movie they ever saw was silent? Like, how long ago was that? Yeah. Because when we get sound, 30s, late 30s into the 40s is when we had like sound pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even, color. I mean, there was, Wizard of Oz came out in 1939.
Maybe it was 20 when talkies came out. I might be pushing it back too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we had color movies in 39. Yeah, I think talkies were 20s. I'm moving everything over a decade. Because the Wizard of Oz was right around that time, and that was Technicolor.
Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, and Gone with the Wind. Like, the movie itself wasn't actually in color in the like processing part. They had to go in and add the color to everything. Now in Technicolor, Technicolor is still around, doing video editing. I was surprised. Like, I never looked into it. Like, I'm sure, like, it makes sense that the company would adapt, right, and progress forward. But I'm just like, Technicolor is such an old thing. I would have thought that it went out of business. And I remember, I think I was watching Deadpool 2 and I saw Technicolor in the credits. I'm like, holy shit, that company's still around.
Absolutely. Foot says, I know Wizards was the first animated movie I saw. That movie came out, I don't know if I've ever actually seen it, but I just looked it up. It came out the year I was born.
Wizards. I don't think I've seen that either.
Yeah, I've probably seen it, but I don't remember. Looks cool. Was that using like rotoscoping?
I'd have to look. I could usually tell just by looking at it, though.
Yeah. I would think they did a lot of that back then with like the Hobbit movie.
Yeah.
They did rotoscope. I don't know, maybe not. Ignition. I tried to jump
I can see
in.
them using it, but it doesn't look necessary from at least the stills. I'd have to watch it in motion, which I'm not going to do that because then sound will start playing for everybody.
Why is Mars in a Blockbuster? This is my house. We see, I've got my,
I think I'd
my
rather be in a Blockbuster.
Yeah, I've got my huge game collection behind me. I've got a nuclear bomb right here.
Yeah, Flip says there was lots of rotoscoping.
There was, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What did we determine that this was? Oh, something from Fallout, maybe.
Oh yeah, that kind of looks like the was it the Fat Boy bomb that you use for the
Is that Todd? In D Live? Ignition 27?
He said he tried to jump in.
Are you in the Discord?
He is. I don't know if he has permission to jump in.
Oh.
If you jump into the waiting room, I can move you in. I'll leave it up.
Yeah. Certainly. Still have 30 minutes. Did you want to talk about the tabletop game?
Oh, yeah, we could do that real quick. It'd be boring for Todd if he wanted to jump in, but,
Yeah.
we can talk about it real quick. But if he jumps into the waiting room, I can move him in.
All right.
So
we went off on a desert adventure.
You did go on to a desert adventure
On Sunday.
So let me rewind back. You guys just previously to that had finished out the flooded plaza. You came down to Clement Bay, and you met this wacky little girl. Little girl, she's like 18, but this wacky lady named Delia Strafford. And you agreed to go on a quest with her. And so basically you guys started that quest. And you started running through the desert. Now, Dillard was actually, like, really suspicious of this from the start. I know some of you guys were in general, but, like, more so than the rest of you, he was suspicious about this whole thing.
Is Todd says he doesn't see a waiting room. Are you sure you're in the Vomitorium Discord?
Yeah, are you in the Vomitorium? I mean, he's in it. I see Todd Ignition, but there are 4 chats. Probably only 2 of them are available. I don't know what's visible to everyone, but there's a general, the Vomitorium Live, the Hyposium, and the waiting room.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, he's very suspicious of. I'm not sure what her name is because on the screen it shows her as Dahlia.
Oh,
He Dana?
he was in the X Dynamis Chaos Discord.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it says Dana.
But what's her name?
It's Delia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you gonna put a link
you
to
know
the
what?
Discord?
I'll explain in a second. I think he has a different account. Because it has a different username than the one that was in here. Or like a different profile picture. There should be below the YouTube or whatever. I don't know where he is.
He's
What was he on?
D-Live.
D-Live? Oh, dang it. I don't think we have the description on D-Live.
No, here.
You can just copy
You
and
mean
paste
the
the Discord link to there. Anybody can hop into the Discord.
There you go.
On the YouTube one, there is a link to the Discord. I believe under the Twitch in the different panels, there should be a link too.
I put it in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah, so... no, that's her name. Both of them are her name. So, as you
Okay.
probably noticed, Delia is partially a reference to Tara
There he is.
Brandford from... Oh, he's in the waiting room here. Let me move him in. There he is. So Delia is a reference to Tara Brandford from Final Fantasy VI.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gotta move these now. And Tara has two different names. Her name is Tara and her name is Tina.
Oh.
So that's why I did that. Her name is Dana and her name is Delia.
I see.
Yeah. I did it intentionally to confuse you guys.
It was confusing.
Yeah.
Hey, Todd.
How you doing?
We're doing
Good.
fine.
How are you?
Good. Can you guys even see me? Because I see just two
No.
squares spinning around.
No, it's still trying to load up your camera.
We can hear you.
That's good that you hear me. That's a plus. Well, there we
Yeah,
go.
there you are.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, not much. We were just at the point of the show where we usually catch people up quickly on what happened in the tabletop campaign that we were running, since people have been following along with that.
You guys are still doing that?
Yeah, it's a long campaign. We're probably going to take a break after we finish the current chapter of it, but yeah, it's an ongoing thing.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I remember you making all the assets. It's probably one of the last times I talked to you was around that time you were making assets.
I'm still making assets because the game keeps going, and so I can also try to work on other things. I only try to make the assets for like the next like session or two, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of work to at least when you're using a visual engine like this, to just constantly be making assets, even if you're reusing stuff.
I was just over there trolling. They had Flora Man on Critical Blast. And I was over there trolling in the chat. Yeah. Whatever. It is what it is.
What's the name of your new project again?
It's currently Paradise, and the story's kind of grown. Paradise is a CIA station in Taiwan, and it's surrounded by these palms, Akria palms, and they grow these big nuts on them. And they nicknamed it Paradise because of these palms. I changed the spelling because it's also haunted. And so it's kind of, the idea of what I was originally doing has kind of grown and evolved as I the story started coming together for me. So I'm not sure whether I'll switch it or not. You know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Tentative title.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
So
he
is
just
it-
sent me a bunch of like 7 pages of character information that I need to familiarize. I'm gonna be helping Todd on a lot of this. from a
As I
writing perspective.
wrote what this character was, and then
Yeah.
some of the story started to gel, like what's this person's part in this story, and so I started getting all these. It was a good exercise because
Yeah.
you know I've honestly never done it to this extent. You know, I've written comics, but never to this extent of this is a graphic novel, it's going to be this many pages, so to speak, and having to do this exercise of creating you know, a bunch of characters and trying to even out the cast, and you know, you want as many women, not as many women, but you want a fair number of women and versus men, and it's a different never done it like this. You know what I mean? And never when I used to do this kind of thing, we're like, oh, I create this character. Other than his origin, right? Other than his origin, I never got these ideas for this story. You know, I would always just draw and create a character and then create a bio. And it never really gelled into where was I going to go with him and what was I going to do with him. This was where I set out to do that kind of thing, where I needed the characters to sort of have a place. And then, you know, my original idea really kind of warped into something else because it was kind of a mashup of Scooby-Doo and Johnny Quest and those kinds of things. And then it really became there's a little bit of spy stuff in there. It becomes a lot about I don't want to give too much away, but it has really evolved into something that I think the heart of my story is a gorilla, you know, and I think that will be the part that people like the most. But it's not, you know, he's sort of an accident that comes about, but he gets involved, and you know, we'll see where it takes us.
Is the gorilla a replacement for the polar bear, or are you still going to have the polar bear?
Yeah, I tried what I tried to do with the polar bear, right? I wanted an animal, and I wanted something that had that ability to kind of be expressive and emote, right? I wanted it to be able to emote visually, and that's really not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, it takes there's a certain quality to that, you know, and so I started looking at a lot of Arthur Adams artwork and seeing like he's created all these creatures, and you know, I mean, obviously like Fing Fang Foom is a big giant creature, and those things are really hard to create because when you're starting something fresh and something new, right, you don't have every angle. So
yeah,
the gorilla was easy because, you know, I could call on the memory of different, you know, there's been Angel and the Ape, and there's a detective gorilla. I forget what the name of that book is. It's very cartoony. It's been long running, but it's a independent comic, really hard to find. And then there was Monkey Man and O'Brien, which Monkey Man and O'Brien is probably the book that most people say, oh, I wish there were more of this. I wish there was more of this, and I wish he'd go back to doing this. Arthur Adams. Yeah. And so I looked at his gorilla, and I thought, okay, I obviously don't want to do Monkey Man. I wanted to create my own gorilla, and I had to get him to. He seems more human, and there's a reason for that. You know, he's still a gorilla, but he'll become Monkey Man comes out and he's bipedal, right? He doesn't run on his hands and stuff. So in some ways he's a lot like Monkey Man, and in some ways he's not. But yes, I tried to get a polar bear to that part, and I couldn't get some things. You just can't get Disneyfied out of your head. You know what I mean? You're creating something, and all it keeps going back to is, this looks too Disney. This looks like the bears that are in that.
Things that you have to really like caricature if you want them to emote like humans do.
Right, and I knew because I was a huge Arthur Adams fan growing up as a kid, and I knew I had somewhere along the way drawn Monkey Man. There's probably a pinup on paper somewhere. And gorillas were always kind of a cool thing, you know what I mean? And when I was a kid growing up, I wanted a monkey. I wanted a chimpanzee, and there was this show, I forget what the name of it. And so growing up, I always had this monkey that had a banana. He had a banana in one hand that he could stick in his mouth, but he could stick his thumb also opening. And it was a stuffed animal. I used to bring it to the table and make it breakfast and stuff like that. So, you know, the idea of monkey just started slapping me around and saying, "Do a monkey, do a gorilla," you know, and I'm okay with that. You know, I tried coming up with something that was. I probably could now, but at the time when I was trying to do this polar bear and try to really get this face to look, almost like a not Disney, not cartoony, and I couldn't really get it to emote right because they don't have a gorilla mouth. Wow, it can contort and do different things. And so it's very much more like human, you know what I mean?
Well, you know,
and
closer shared ancestors and stuff like that.
right?
Yeah.
So it was a little easier to go, I can get this expression out of it. Really hard to get certain expressions out of a polar bear. And it's just because I don't have the experience. I don't have the, you know, the training to do that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So it was really frustrating me. And then I got rid of an animal altogether, you know? I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't, because like I said, this is part Scooby-Doo, part Jabberjaws, and part Johnny Quest. And of course, I needed something. I needed a Scooby-Doo, you know, or an animal and that could talk. And if you got to that point where you were reading about Zeus, you really see that I'm onto something, you know, that it becomes the heart of the story. And so I just went with it. It was by pure accident, you know. It wasn't, I'm actually going to have, I don't want to give too much away. How many people are watching? But
how many people are watching? I don't know. Marsupial, are you one of the people that counts on Twitch right now? Do you have that open?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll subtract 1. 10. Yeah, but we'll get upwards between like 30 to 100 depending on the episode afterwards on the SoundCloud.
So you know there's a project going on, right? You've probably read that far. There's a project going on. And they don't normally use anything but rats at this tech company to do. And so they get permission to do this monkey. This monkey has one arm. Mm-hmm. So it's an amputee. So it's headed for, you know, it's kind of headed for destruction anyway. So they don't have this moral problem because they need this data for their experiment. Right? So they need this data for their experiment. And, but there's another project going on and they slip their project into the monkey one, basically to create a super soldier to a degree. And they slip their intelligence project into the monkey. And then you have super intelligent, super strong monkey. Yeah. So I don't want to give away how it really kind of becomes this like real problem. Mm-hmm. But you know, again, like I said, the monkey was headed towards destruction and termination. They weren't actually going to do the project that they do on him. They don't do to the end, you know, the 6 injections. They only do 5 because they'll get all the data they need to know if they can try it on a human.
Yeah. You sent that to me.
Right. So they don't have to go that far. And then, okay, they do the 5. They get all the data they need, and then they destroy the monkey. But because the other person snuck their project, unbeknownst to anybody, they won't be destroying this monkey.
No. Oh, a lot of it probably should be saved for some other time. Not to spoil too much, but you and I, like I said, closer to the weekend after I'd had more time to look through everything, because I only got to read a couple pages. I was pretty short on time. We should definitely get into a call and discuss a lot more of this stuff.
Yeah, because I do have a lot of the opening scenes, and I can actually kind of move and progress, and then we can, you know, tweak the dialogue. Some of the you could see that I even parsed some of the dialogue in there, just so I knew the emotions of the scene, so I remembered them. because I wasn't ready to, without talking to you, to just fully script, because there's a few things I need, and I don't really. I know where the end is. I know the epilogue and all that. I do have a lot to go on, but I there's one character I didn't write on there, and it's a female illusionist. They needed an illusionist for something, and I know that sounds kind of elaborate, but I really want this. They have to do this illusion to fool the other tech company.
No. I like that. Like that's the best way to describe anything. Like without telling, it's like they need this thing. You don't have to tell them why. It's like they need it. It's necessary. Why is it necessary? Just trust me. It's necessary. It's needed. We need an illusionist.
Some of the harder things that I don't really have a good grasp on. I know why I use that CIA station, and I know it has something to do with the other tech company, and so I don't really have all that gelled out and figured out yet. But I really.
Right?
What's that?
Mummy, it reminds me of the Mummy. Like in the Mummy 2, you could tell that the writer is like, we need an airship. Well, then why do we need an airship? Just trust me, we'll figure out why we need it, but we need the airship in the movie. It's like, okay, well, we'll work an airship in. And you know what? That's like the best part of the whole movie, too.
It is. And that character, the driver, the pilot, is
Izzy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool.
But that's like the thing. It's like you start with that mentality. It's like, we need this. We can figure out why we need it later, but we need it.
Yeah.
In like I said, the guerrilla aspect of this story is the heart.
Yeah. But
the real story evolves around these kids and these scientists have gone missing. And I think that's also another part that has a lot of heart of if not the heart, a lot of the meat of the story.
Yeah.
Being around these kids and the things that'll happen to them, and because again, the original idea was Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. We had a good conversation about that. About it was like a month ago now.
About what?
No, me and Todd.
Seems
we were
like
in a
it's
call.
been a while.
It's probably close to a month, if not more. But yeah, we had we got in a call. And we were talking about stuff. We were brainstorming things and tossing ideas and stuff.
By the way, the whole confusion with the Discord is it tells me I have to claim my account, and so I put in I put in the email that's attached to it and everything, and I know my passwords and I put them in, but it's not. I must have it wrong somehow. I must have. Maybe I needed a special character. I know I always use the same special character, so
you're probably using like the password that doesn't force you to have a special character or something instead of the one that does.
Yeah, I have I have a weird password way. Like I have the same password for financial stuff. These passwords are all derivative of each other.
That's not very safe.
They're very, very hard. Like super freaking hard. But the financial one goes one way, and then the social media one goes the other. So I put them into categories. I have a lot of different passwords. Yeah. But the derivative I can figure out. Oh yeah, this is the financial one. This is the
Well, you also hopped into the wrong server at first too. You went to the server for my comic world and stuff, and not the one for the Vomitorium.
I went to your Twitter and didn't realize that it was only one. It was another segment, but.
So we're gonna.
What were you guys talking about?
Oh, we were
talking about
wrapping up, catching people up on what we did for the RPG, which we were like halfway into when you hopped in. Which we could finish that up pretty shortly too.
Has everyone stuck with it?
Well, Timothy had to bail because of scheduling. It's not the end of the world. It'd be nice, I guess, to still have the other person because the team was getting used to having that many people for a while. But I balanced at least all the way through chapter 1, which is the stuff that I did all the math and stuff before anybody really hopped in. I balanced it for like 4 to 6 players, and they're still within the 4 to 6 player range. So, like, losing a person is not the end of the world. John is like in and out because of scheduling and depending, like, you know, his family needs him and stuff like that. But for the most part, everybody else has been pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's been pretty good. We're in, what was, last one was 17, I believe. So I think your count, Marsupial, is one behind.
Yeah,
Probably from
I
that
might have
time
to
that you
reset
missed.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going through the desert. We're escorting Dana
Yes.
through the desert
Yeah,
towards
escorting
towards an oasis.
Yep. Well, she needs to go.
How many people are playing?
At the moment, well, the GM is technically a player, so there's me, but I'm running it. Marsupial, Flit, who's in the chat, Dillard, my friend Travis is in there too, and Rick.
Rick, yeah.
Yeah.
So 5 players plus the GM.
Yep.
You didn't mention John.
I did. I said Dillard.
Yeah.
I used his
Dillard.
last name.
Oh, you said. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
oh. Okay.
So we're on an escort mission.
I guess
And it turns
too,
out-
because we have somebody who hasn't been watching at all. I can also catch up on who the characters are, just briefly, in case there's other people who haven't been. So Marsupial's playing a black collar, who's basically like a black mage, but he can also summon things to the battlefield as well. Flit is playing a white mage, so he's like the cleric of the group. Rick is playing a dragoon. And dragoons are, you know, like they're cavalry soldiers. He's got a mount that he can ride on. He jumps on things and spears through them. Supposed to be like a one-shot kill, but Rick's character has a disadvantage where he can't kill anything. And Travis is currently playing a fighter. And so like your classic warrior type person. And Dillard is playing a monk. So he just punches things. A lot.
A lot of punching.
Yeah. Yeah, Flit's character is best boy. That's all you need to know.
That's
Yeah. He's playing like a 14-year-old who went out into the world to help his village that's currently suffering from a disease. So he's like the naive guy that's being just like overwhelmed by everything that's happening.
And now he's lately become a bit of an alcoholic, so
Yep. Mostly because of the actions of the party.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we're wandering through
When
the
night
desert.
do you guys? When night do you guys go live?
We do this Sundays from 2 Central to whenever. It's supposed to be 2 to 4 minimum, but sometimes it goes as late as like 6.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, we're wandering through the desert, or they're wandering through the desert. I'm not wandering anywhere. I kind of like that God view of everything. Like I'm above what they're doing, and they're wandering through the desert, and they've been basically running into everything, like literally everything. They're not able to avoid much. You guys are running from these cactus people because they don't care. As long as you don't fight them, they won't fight back. But they're
We don't have
escorting
any-
this. Yeah.
We don't really have any reason to fight them because they're a pain in the ass anyway. We fought them once, and whenever you
They
hit
kind of
them,
fucked
they
you up.
they damage you back whenever you hit them.
Like punching
Yeah,
a
like,
cactus.
Yeah, basically like you're punching a cactus, and even hitting them with magic damages you. So yeah, after that first fight, we're like, we don't need to be fighting these things.
And they're hard to hit because they're so quick that even things that usually auto hit, you have to roll for.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just they're an easy fight, but they're a pain in the ass at the same time.
Yeah, because they just hurt you like constantly. But we have a few things. So when we were in the town, there's like a bulletin board where we found out there were some people in town that want various things that we can pick up in the desert. The tongues of one creature,
And
right?
the Tyrannosaur.
the tongues of the tyrannosaurs and the teeth of the
Sandworms.
what was it? The sandworms. So like we're fighting these things, well, because they're attacking us, but also because getting things that we'll be able to turn it in for rewards. But so we had a couple of fairly interesting fights.
Well, so you guys got lucky at first because I wasn't going to punish you for me messing up. The way we do the system, the attacks roll based on like macros you program into it. And I forgot to put in the macro or adjust it for the power strike that the Tyrannosaurs are supposed to have. So they were doing like no damage to almost anybody on your team. I think Cross's Bird and Dillard were the only people taking damage from it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, we happened to run into a couple of gimpy Tyrannosaurs that basically couldn't hurt us for some reason.
They should have like devastated your party. I fixed it after that, and even the next Tyrannosaur you fought nearly killed Cross.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rick nearly went down.
He's got to put that bird in front of him. His chocobo needs to be front line. Ow.
It's literally just a meat shield. That's all it is worth. And it just needs to put it in front of everything.
Put the bird in front. And then he can just like run in, attack, retreat.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, if he's like right behind it, he can use like half his movement to attack and then move back.
Yeah.
Or even actually, he could stay up to like 5 spaces away from anything, because he could just jump every other turn.
Yeah.
And he'll return to where he was. You know, I don't know why he doesn't. He's not especially tanky. Like he's not more tanky than say half your team is at this point. He should be a lot tankier. He eventually will be.
Yeah, the chocobo is a meat shield and potential food source.
Yep. So you guys had a couple, just very few dangerous fights. Because like the sandworms aren't really a problem for you guys anymore, with how much you raised your armor. The Allosauruses that spawned with the T-Rex really aren't a problem for you guys because of your armor. It's really just the T-Rex and the Cactar. But the session ended with you guys running into something that very well could be a problem for you. Something that you knew that was roaming the desert due to the bulletin board, and you ran into a Gigantuar, which is like a Cactar, but 4 or so times bigger.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can retreat, because it may not. It may be a different disposition from the regular Cactars, which would just let us run away.
Yeah. But the thing is, you don't know, right? So you can't. You either have to try to run away, or you sacrifice your first chance at running away to scan it to see if you can. But then, after you scan it, you might aggro it, and then you have to try to run the hard way.
Yeah. So we've got.
I like putting you guys in this type of situation. It's very fun for me.
I'm a little concerned. I don't know if we can defeat this thing. And I remember the last time I was overly optimistic about a boss-like character.
It led to the death of Travis's first character.
Yeah, permanently losing a character. So
yeah, we actually had a character die in a few sessions ago. He to save the rest of his party, he basically suplexed a boss off the side of an airship and killed both of them as they crashed 1,500 feet to the ground, doing over like 300,000 damage. It was a very, very heroic way to go out.
Yeah, definitely. But no, all the Phoenix Downs in the world couldn't resurrect him after that. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
there'll be a statue for him and stuff when you guys return. You guys haven't been back to Hamister in a while.
I mean, so the problem is that this creature, if we could defeat it, would give us a huge reward.
Yeah.
And they're very uncommon. We were very lucky to run into it.
Yeah.
Like, what did you like? It's a 1 in.
It's a 1 in 100. Like I have to roll my D100 and it has to land on 1.
Yeah. So we were very lucky, quote unquote, to run into it. We may never see it again if we run, but we might be too low a level. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't even know what level this thing is.
Yeah, we have no idea. So I guess we'll have to discuss.
Well, I think that's one of the fun things about this game is because it's Final Fantasy based. I'm using a random encounter system, so unlike D&D, which you know, turn a corner, you still don't know what you're gonna fight unless you're familiar with the campaign, right? Or like whatever one shot you're running. In this one, I don't even know what they're gonna fight. Like I have a clue, I know like the options of what they could fight, but I don't know what they're gonna fight until I roll it.
Yeah, but it's not in D&D. It's totally up to the DM.
Yeah,
to say,
and it is up to me. I could force any fight I want, but like I'm rolling it, so I don't even know what I'm going to make you guys fight until you fight it.
Right. And the fact is, yeah, this one thing that we could get a big reward for. There's a 1 in 100 chance of ever, you know, each time we do a random encounter, there's a 1 in 100 chance. So.
Well, not necessarily. Oh, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, that's not exactly how it works. So when every 50 miles your character walks, I have to roll up to 3 spawns. So it's a D4 minus 1. If I roll a 1, you guys have 0 spawns for that walk. But I also have to roll the D100 for every 50 miles. So it's an additional spawn that may happen. So you could actually fight up to 4 mobs. It's just that other one's very unlikely, and you guys have never once ran into the one in Hannister Plains, which is why I said even after you started skipping those because you were too high, I still had to make a roll. That's what I was rolling for, to see if you were going to fight the one in the Plains.
I see.
Yeah.
We still don't know what that is.
Nope.
I thought it was the Rock. I thought the Rock was the most powerful thing we could run into there.
No. I mean, the thing in the Plains now, you guys could probably beat no problem, but it probably would have killed you if you had ran into it earlier. There's like a very small chance, like 1 in 100 chance you're going to run into it.
Yeah. So we'll have to decide if we want to just say, all right, bypass it. Maybe we'll never run into it again, but it's too dangerous. Maybe. Because the problem is, in the game, sometimes those cactuars are really dangerous.
Yeah.
It can be.
Well, because they ignore your armor and magic armor. They hit you directly.
And they've got powerful special moves, so I guess we'll see. We did not run into the Rock. We ran into an ROC, Rock.
It's a bird.
We did not run into Dwayne the Rock Johnson, unfortunately.
That would
so
be
you
an
ran into
interesting
the Jedi
boss.
Rock.
That's right. Yeah, no, we also did not run into Geode from Star Wars. Sorry, GMT.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what kind of bosses you might randomly fight, though. After meeting Old Greg, Dwayne the Rock Johnson could be a boss. You don't know.
Yeah, specifically for GMT's delight.
Yeah. But that's where they left off. There's them and this strange purple-haired girl who turned out to be an Esper. That was another thing, too.
Forgot about that, yeah.
Her class is called an Elite, which is named after the fact that Terra was a Magitech Elite in Final Fantasy VI. And she has the ability to spend 12 count of the turn going into a trance. And for 6 turns, she becomes an Esper.
Which is slightly more powerful than her normal form.
Yes. It's actually, I also did the math wrong on that. She was supposed to be hitting harder. I need to go and fix that.
I was always somewhat disappointed by Terra's Esper transformation.
Yeah, it didn't do much.
Really do all that much, yeah.
It kind of just boosted the multiplier on each of her moves.
Yeah. Interestingly, speaking of Final Fantasy VI, I've been looking into it because eventually I'm going to get to it in my playthroughs if I ever stream again, which I will. Yeah. I've been very busy with work. But I've been looking into Final Fantasy VI, and there are multiple bugs, like a lot of bugs. in the original SNES version.
Yeah.
I found that actually people have published fixes for all the bugs. And I downloaded a ROM editor and a bunch of fixes, and you can actually pull the ROMs off of the SNES Classic and put them on my computer. And then I installed all the fixes, and then I put it back on as a different one. I didn't want to overwrite what was already there. Fortunately, it crashed after that. So I'm guessing one of those bug fixes is no good, but it's interesting because when I originally looked it up, there's this evasion bug where the evasion is calculated wrong, but there's also the whole status transfer bug where you can end up losing Shadow's dog.
Yeah, because he counts as a permanent status condition.
Yeah, and that's not supposed to work that way, but there's
I
several.
actually used to be involved a lot into modding Final Fantasy VI, mostly from the artistic end. You would use like Lunar IPS to patch in mods, but you could change like any of the sprites for anything. And a lot of people used to like to put like their own characters and stuff into the game and play through it with their stuff. So they would pay me to make sprite sheets of Final Fantasy VI that they could mod into the game.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of these mods are very, very small. They're like literally changing like 8 or 10 bits and it fixes it.
I would like a mod that fixes luck in the original Final Fantasy. That'd be great.
Yeah, really. There probably is.
Probably.
I'm sure somebody's.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. So that's where you guys left off. That
What was the beginning half of the show about?
We talked about it was Mario Days, so we covered some of that. A bunch of other random news. Guinness Book of World Records for development of the smallest Nintendo 64. I'm trying to remember everything about the show. I do this all the time too. It's like we talk for 3 hours straight and I forget everything that happened in the show. And I'm sitting there like struggling to remember it as I'm putting the description down on SoundCloud of like what we talked about. And like I don't need to put everything because we go on a lot of tangents. I just need to cover like 3 things. What were 3 things we talked about? We talked about computers and stuff at one point in time, or I don't know. We go on a lot of tangents.
Yep. All kinds of stuff.
Yeah. We're actually 10 minutes past the end of the show.
Oh, you have a cutoff time? You don't just go...
Sometimes we do. Like, we'll go a little longer, but it's supposed to be from 6 to 9 Central.
Yeah. You don't want to cut into process time?
Oh, I don't care about that. I've just always, I had a set schedule even before I started going on Rick's show, so.
Yeah. Plus, it's time for dinner. I'm starving.
Yeah, I'm kind of hungry too. That's one of the reasons why there's a fixed schedule. I'm like, yeah, your average, like, rush hour radio show runs for like 3 hours, so that would be about the good length of a podcast like this.
But it was nice talking to you, Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't talked to you in a while, and I'll stay for a minute because I want to say something.
Yeah. No, we could do
before
that,
you go run off to eat. Give me a second.
The sooner we end the show, the sooner we could stay for that minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for coming and watching the Vomitorium. We will see you on Saturday at the same time, same place. And if you would like to support the show because you like it that much, you could share it out and possibly donate directly to my PayPal at paypal.me/IMMADAMETAL. I'm a metal. And we will see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bubble on a needle. Cast away.